Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Six Invitational 2024 live from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Day 2, the final game of today of the best of 3 series between Fury and Falcons is ready to be playing out. And you know what's really interesting here? It's a debut for Fury on the international stage.
I mean, that's got to be super exciting in itself. I remember my first time, I was thrilled, I was ecstatic, but also it's a lot of nerves too, because this event is everything. This is where the World Championship tournament is. This is where you are crowned the best team in the world.
Exactly. I think everyone's going to be looking very closely at I9, or Napier, as you maybe previously known him as apart from him, the rest of the team, this is their time to shine. This is their time to show us what they've got.
Yeah, and Falcons are the team that they're going to be going up against, and a lot of adversities for Falcons on these international tournaments that they have made in the past. We saw them having issues with their roster in Copenhagen. Same thing this time around in SI. Couple of changes that we're going to be heading into in just a little bit. But when it comes to Falcons, same with GK. They are that MENA representative, that the first time around that this region is allowed to compete on the international stage. And although they've made some waves in Copenhagen, SI yesterday didn't look the hottest.
I think Falcons are still waiting for that clear run, right? They're still waiting for that time where everything goes their way, whether it be getting people here, general logistics and things of that nature. And slowly but surely it feels like they're getting there. They've got the full roster here today now, so you've got to give them that benefit and think, at least there's that. But then there are other things that you're going to sort of tack on and pin onto that and say, well, they've not had a chance for a boot camp. They've not got themselves acclimatized. They arrived a few hours ago. Like, it starts to mount up again, doesn't it?
And I think it also plays into what we've talked about, even with APEC teams back in the day, is that they need more time. They need more tournaments to be able to participate in internationally, to get those reps and to experience what it's like playing against the NA region, the EU region, the Brazilian region. So with time, I think we will see MENA and even GK. Like, they did have a phenomenal performance back in Atlanta, but just more reps, I think we'll definitely see a lot more positive note coming from MENA in general.
Yeah, and both of these teams have both made it to LAN 3 times already. So in terms of the LAN experience, pretty much on that same level, if we do say so ourselves. And I think, as you highlighted as well, it's a matter of translating that regional success onto that international stage. And that is really the big question today, because when we're looking at a team like Fury, we haven't really seen much of them to the international stage. And in general, when we're looking at APAC teams, Ollie, that's been a little bit of a difficult one.
It's been a question mark, hasn't it? It's been something that we've often had a question mark over. I think today we've been kind of blessed with the games that we've got. You know, you look at Sonics versus Lost and you look at Fury versus Falcons and you think probably the best matched games inside of this group, right?
Yeah.
This is the two that we're looking at and we're going like, well, which one of you is it? Because it's got to be one of you.
Well, I mean, if you're feeling Fury, I mean, and we're talking about them right now, they had a day off. They were able to relax, watch the games, watch their opponent Falcons. Sure, it wasn't their main roster like it is now, but it still gives you that day to just relax, get a little bit of practice more, maybe fix another strat, and just to watch your opponent and come into this match even more prepared than you would have been the day prior.
And even get into the mood. Like, they're looking like they're having a good time, and as we said, that's really important when it comes to coming onto these lands and actually performing as well. I think, again, something to highlight on is the fact that the pressure potentially for a team like Fury might not actually be there. And a lot of teams, when there isn't that much pressure, they are ready to go loose, and that can be a wild card on the server.
Exactly. And when you've had, like you say, like the day off previously, they've been able to see everything. They've probably got themselves down, had a look at the setups. They're going to be very comfortable inside of this environment now, and probably just raring to go and get into the server. You couple that with the fact that I don't think there's a huge expectation on this roster at the moment. It could be a recipe for success.
Yeah, and then we're looking at Falcons, and I don't want to call it a recipe for disaster, but they're not necessarily in the best position. A couple of their players, as you already highlighted, Ollie, flew in earlier today. And then, I mean, I'm going to have to throw this one to you here, because Laxington, we're looking at players that have arrived on the same day and are now expected to log in and perform.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wouldn't want to be in their shoes. I would want to be in the shoes of participating at SI, but coming in after a 20-hour flight and expected to show up and perform, I mean, I would be exhausted after. I'm already exhausted after playing a match, so coming in and having to play a match after flying for 20 hours, that's gonna be pretty intense, but it's still nice to be playing with your official roster.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why you're on the desk now.
Oh,
all right.
Sheesh.
Well,
okay,
joke,
wow.
joke.
Ollie, I thought you were the nice one.
I mean, that's what I thought.
I just throw an opportunity. I thought I'd take it.
Like
Yeah,
Jesse
it was
comes at me, now
low-hanging
you're
fruit.
coming at
I
me.
It was very low-hanging
okay.
fruit. Very low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, but going back onto the topic of Falcons, though, and you were saying in the positions of play, you'll be tired, you'll be exhausted. I also wonder in terms of like being acclimated to the setup here, because we've already seen a couple of the Falcon players, they've already played, but also, did we see everything from Falcons yesterday then? Because it's a different roster again.
This is the thing, it's very difficult now now to talk about Falcons and what they did yesterday, because you can pretty much scrap that. You lose 3 players, you have 3 substitutes. That's the large part of this, 3/5 of the roster that's gone. So
Big
it is
math.
entirely different at that point. And I think you've got to weigh into that maybe a bit of the adrenaline that's coming in as well from these Falcons players. They might be up for the fight.
Definitely. And I talked to Twister too just before we were getting into this, and he said what they were doing yesterday, it was kind of just for fun. They were just, they accepted what the result was, what it possibly could be. They were just trying to get everyone in the right mindset. And now coming into today, having that official roster, having everyone here, we're going to see a brand new Falcons.
Oh, I mean, that's exciting, but also brings still the question mark of in terms of how much of the new Falcons we're going to be able to see, considering, the fact that these players have just come off their flight. But I think as well, what we really need to look forward to both of these teams is they have 3 LAN appearances and they have that experience, but in terms of that map pool against different regions, what does it look like and how that's going to be playing out in a map veto? Because again, maps are one of the biggest factors in terms of these BO3s.
But it does come into it as well that it is a best of 3. So even if you don't get your best map necessarily off the go, you can possibly get the best one coming into the second one. So being in a best of 3 situation does set you up for a lot of success in terms of your mental game. That the first game, sure, you do want to win it, but you can put your back against the wall and have a comeback. Whereas the best of 1, the second you lose that, you're done.
I guess also in terms of this being a best of 3, the Falcon players, that first map that they're playing could potentially be considered a war map?
Well, I mean, it's going to be some sort of a warm-up, isn't it?
Absolutely.
They're not going to have boot camped. They're not going to have played together because of just general distances and things. So absolutely, you're going to be going into this as Falcons thinking, we want to get a good map as our first map.
And it's going to be Labs. First one.
So again, this goes into what I was saying with Twister. I mean, he is very confident that picking a map they didn't pick it, but letting a map go through like Labs where they lost it yesterday 7-4, that he said it was all for fun. They weren't really expecting much out of it, but now they're going to be willing to go for it again and again, show the true Falcons form today again on Nighthaven.
Yeah, Chalet is going to be that second one. And also interesting to note here, Ollie, is that both teams have picked the defensive side. And that's something that you've touched upon quite early on in the tournament, saying that coming into SI, we are expecting the defensive side.
The stats are going crazy. I've not wanted to get too deep into it because we're very early. And we're starting to get to a point where we've seen the majority of maps come out now, but the defender win percentage, it's nuts. It's well over 60% at the moment.
Wow.
So it's no surprise to see these players really reaching into that. And especially when you start thinking about maps like Labs, it can be a very technical map to attack into. Chalet is known to be a fairly difficult map as well. So you're giving yourself these sort of pressures and circumstances where you're going to want to start on the defense.
I mean, these maps specifically, especially in Nighthaven, it's a lot of forced engagements, it's a lot of forced crossfires. So again, your Falcons, you're coming in here with your main roster. No one should be out of place. Everyone should be in sync with one another. So I can definitely see a possible change of pace from what we were seeing in the games yesterday.
In terms of Labs as well, the fact that we've seen it yesterday from Falcons and it being shown again here today, could that potentially be a curveball? The Fury seeing Falcons yesterday prepping a certain way, prepping a certain strat, but then we're hearing it from Twister and he's like, actually, no, that was just jokes.
Twister was confident. I'll say that. Twister was 100% confident. He didn't choke up at all when I asked him these questions. He was nailing it every single time.
I think that there's a lot of smoke and mirrors at play here, especially when you could read into this a little bit much and say, well, Fury had an off day yesterday, so maybe they just spent the whole day prepping against Falcons. They were glued to that game, and they've tried to get those maps because they're trying to exploit weaknesses because they didn't necessarily know that the Falcons players were going to arrive. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we'll play you on those maps because guess what? Like, we're going to play entirely differently now.
I think if you're Fury and you know that these 2 players just got in, you got to play even harder than maybe you were before to capitalize on the exhaustion or the tiredness from the players. Not to say that that is going to be the case, but if I was in Fury's shoes, I would definitely try to start out the gates hot.
So when you're saying capitalize off of the exhaustion potentially coming from the Falcons players, how would you attack that or approach that?
I guess it really comes down to the first initial rounds of just seeing how Falcons are playing, maybe from what you saw yesterday, then how you're seeing today, and try to exploit maybe where there are spots in the armor or the shield that you can initially just take full advantage of and kind of just keep attacking that point and seeing where the initial weak spot is. But again, that could also play against Fury, where again, they have done all this prep, and in reality, it's a completely different ballgame that Falcons is going to be playing, and it's going to be a lot of mid to late round adaptations.
we don't have to look too far back to see Fury have some success. Okay, it was different roster, different times, but they've got experience, and that experience is going to trickle through a player like I9. So I am expecting that to be at the forefront here today. And for Falcons, I think it's one of those where I don't really know who the pressure is on for this game, because we're expecting them to be fairly equal inside of the group, but there's a lot of extenuating circumstances around that. It's really difficult to say which team has the most pressure on their shoulders. And Falcons, they've almost got like a sort of get out of jail free card here with their current circumstance.
I think this first map is really going to set that tone going into that Chalet.
We're looking at both Falcons and Fury here, and realistically, we haven't seen them really play on day one. Fury, not at all. Falcons with a 3-man substitute. So this could be considered for both of these teams their first game here at SI. And could that potentially be similar to what we've seen from the Low Sonics game, especially that first map where it was trialing and testing and learning each other's game style and then adapting to it?
It's definitely going to be about which team has the ability to adapt in a short amount of time, because prep for both teams at this point is pretty useless, because both teams have, changed a little bit.
Absolutely.
Falcons, they now play with different teams, so the prep that they've maybe done previously is pretty useless. Fury, they may be prepping to play them against with 3 subs. That's pretty much useless. So there's going to be a lot of pressure in what happens in the server. And obviously the coaches sat behind, they're going to be able to give their input during the tactical timeouts and do some slow guiding, but that overall ability to adapt on the fly is going to have to come from the players, Lax.
Absolutely, and that's something that I even want to hone in on just from personal player experiences. Just because you have strats, just because you have prep, that's all there just to give you an idea of what's happening in the map, but you have to be focused on adapting, communicating with one another, because that's what's going to push you to win the ground, win the game. And if you're just fully focused on the prep, I can tell you right now it's not going to look good. You need to be able to adapt in those mid to late rounds.
And that's what we're going to be expecting from both of these games, but also adaptability, energy levels, I think have played a huge part here on LAN so far when we're looking at the teams going back and for that mental warfare we've touched upon it a couple of times. And when we're looking currently at Falcons as well as Fury, they're kind of just sitting calm, cool, and collected.
It's a bit too wholesome in here for my liking right now. It's a little bit too cute, especially considering we just had Sonics and Lost and they were screaming at one another. We saw Sonics were getting really animated.
I can actually hear what you're saying.
Yeah, it's crazy,
nice.
right? I think it wouldn't come through crystal clear here. And these two teams, maybe when they get into the server, there'll be a bit of hype and stuff like that. I'm sure that there will be. Fury, very much like a vibes team, in my opinion. And Falcons, they've got a mouth on them when they need it. But at this point, it's all about getting them into the server.
I mean, I'm an old geezer. Personally, I prefer it to just be calm, chill, collect. I don't really want anyone screaming in my ear, but definitely it does set a tone for sure of, like you were saying, that mental warfare is when, if you're going down in rounds and that other team is screaming at you, it does affect players. It is very real. But for me, I like it chill. I like what they're doing over there. Yeah,
we've discussed at length in terms of what we could be expecting from both of these rosters, and I think playstyle would not be something we could attest to just yet, considering that what we've seen yesterday from Falcons is not going to be it. We're going to be seeing Fury for the first time as well, so maybe a little bit more outside of the conversation. But I do want to look at their map pool and their experience on these maps, because again, the BO3, you have 3 different maps where you can be going to if you win both your map picks. So how likely or how favorable here is it for either one of these teams?
I think that you've got to look at the different types of siege that these two teams play. They're in very different regions and they play very different styles of siege. Now, that's never the easiest thing to come up against and to bring to an international stage, because you're going to be playing an international style of siege where, as you know, a lot of things go out the window. Something that works regionally might not work too well internationally. And that's where you can look at this. Falcons have got a lot of experience inside of the Saudi League. Now, that's fantastic, but you look at the level of competition that is. Likewise, Fury, they've got a lot of experience as well. But again, what is that experience against? Who are those teams that they're going up against?
But this is where it's going to play into who is actually paying attention to what the other team is doing, is making those adaptations. Because if you aren't doing that, then it doesn't really matter what all that prep or everything went into. If you can't identify what that team is doing that is stopping you in your tracks, they're just going to keep rolling over you.
And also, even when we're looking at Falcons particularly here, I want to touch upon the fact that at Copenhagen, they didn't have their full roster. They had Valentino playing in as a substitute. But even locally, within the MENA region, they were not #1 seed. It was GK. So it brings the question question, you know, they exploded onto the stage during G8 and everybody saw them go up against BDS head-to-head in that finals, but really, is it still the same Falcons? Can we still be expecting that in-your-face siege that's so aggressive?
I mean, you've got to maybe question like a bit of a home advantage, a home turf
For
buff
sure.
there when you start thinking about G8 and Falcons. But it is a team that has that potential, and I think we've got to also remember that we very rarely get to see them at full strength. Now, are they at full strength today?
Absolutely not.
Well, yes, in a way.
They are.
They've got all 5. So yes, in a way. Is the circumstance of the full 5 being here classed as full strength? Not necessarily, but there is still that full 5 roster.
Definitely.
And what they're able to do is anyone's business.
And again, when you look at the maps, I mean, again, I already talked on the Night Haven, but the fact that the last map that's going to be up is Border, again, it plays into what Twister was saying. He is fully confident in the map pool and what they can do now with that 5-man roster. But I do agree with what you were saying. I think there is maybe some little bit of leeway if we do start to see maybe a similar performance of yesterday in terms of 2 players coming in off 20 hours of a long flight.
Yeah, and then we were having a look at Fury, and I think especially when it comes to that APAC, when it comes to the APAC region, what we've seen time and time again is translating that local success, that regional success onto that international stage, being able to take teams out in that group stage, and they could potentially, you know, do that, but the question remains, realistic?
And this is, I mean, I think so as well, but for APAC in general, in terms of their playstyle, they've always, for as long as I can remember, even competing against them, they've always had a very unorthodox gameplay and game style, whereas I think this meta heavily does favor kind of those unorthodox playstyles or the aggressiveness as well. So in terms of Fury being able to just figure that out, I think, again, where I've always seen APAC struggle the most is really their adaptations, is once they get figured out, once a team has a general consensus of how they're attacking or how they're approaching a site or even how they're defending a site, they collapse because they don't know how to make those changes. And I think it might be the same both for MENA regions as well, is once a team really figures you out, especially at SI where every team is going to be top notch, they're going to be doing their prep, you have to be heavily focused on how you can change your style of play when you need to.
I want to really know and dig into how Falcons are going to deal, how Fury are going to deal with the aggression that Falcons are going to bring. Falcons, one of the best ways to describe them is that they are a team that is fantastic at just running around. Now, what's running around, we might say? Well, running around means that they are going to be getting up in your face. They love to play aggressive. They love to bring the fight to their opponent. And I want to see how Fury deal with that, because it can be really difficult sometimes. We've only got to think back to the previous game that we saw about how aggressively Lost were holding on Skyscraper. Okay, with different maps here, with slightly different circumstance, but if Falcons play that aggressive play style, especially on a map like Night Haven, which can be difficult, takes a lot of coordination to really get executes going over on that map, I want to know how that stacks up. Likewise, I want to see exactly what happens when the flip, when it's all reversed and when it's changed around. How do Falcons stack up to that pressure? What are their attacks going to start to look like here on this map?
Yeah, and that's also something to keep in mind in terms of that MENA play style, where, you know, we've heard in MENA they don't really plant. That's not in the strat book. It's not part of it. And we saw the aggression from GK as well. So even though GK being that #1 seed, Falcons #2, that is potentially going to be similarity in that play style. And it was an issue for the team they were playing.
I mean, aggressive playstyles is the meta. If you can't deal with it at this point in Siege and where this meta's at, you're already far behind than you need to be.
Yeah, and I have some really great news. The game is ready, and we're absolutely heading into it straight away. Thank you so much for holding on, but Falcons and Fury about to start.
What a top professional crew there on the desk to get through a bit of an extended tech pause there as we are looking to get into what will be our final game of the day. And final game of the day with basically 2 debutantes. Let's be honest here. Falcons have got their roster back, and Fury for the first time here for SI24 making an appearance.
Yeah, I'm really keen to jump into this one. A bit of Labs as well, one of my favorite maps. But I mean, taking a step back, looking at the day as a whole, it's been 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. We haven't had a 3-mapper at all today across the A stream or the B stream. Will this be the one that goes the distance, Jake?
Well, no, because you've jinxed it. Now it's going to be a 2-0 again. Thank you, guys. Now, 60% to 40% in favor of Fury, but I wonder how many of those predictions were based on maybe Falcons from yesterday, because Falcons from yesterday are relevant. And it was said on the desk, you basically don't even count it. Let's move forward with now the new Falcons roster, the Falcons roster we know and love, of course. So they get their entire crew. They've got the whole team. Now, a lot of people will be like, where's Joker? Where's Joker? Well, it's not really like part of this roster at the moment, or really at all. Mad Skills, of course, he's been around a long, long time as well. He makes his way back in. So does O-Kills, and so does Chalet. And that's essentially the big core that they were missing yesterday. So they've got their full 5. They're ready to go. This is a big test as well for Fury, because I think when you kind of look at this tournament holistically, again, APAC has continued to fail. APAC has again continued to not really show up. This has got to be the kind of game that they look at themselves as a possibility to win, to kickstart the campaign.
It's actually a little bit strange, the parallels between both of these two teams in sort of the context of the year, right? Falcons, unfortunately, throughout 2023 dropped off. They trailed to GK, and, you know, going into this year for 2024, they're going to again be competing for that singular spot. So it's going to be really intriguing to see how that plays out. But the same now can be said for Fury. They're going to be competing heavily against Bleed for now only the singular spot in Asia. So I think both of these teams have a lot to prove, obviously on the international stage, but setting themselves up nicely for the year. So I'm keen to see how they go toe-to-toe.
Yeah, you mentioned that as well for Fury against Bleed. Actually, interesting when you kind of look at them domestically. Fury's got the better of Bleed. I think winning their last 2 encounters, especially throughout, say, like the LCQs. If you go back all the way to Copenhagen, at the time it was like a massive shock. It was the kind of big upset that sent ripples through SEA when Fury actually took down Bleed, denying them after they had the 7-0 in the regular stage. Bleed then could not go to Copenhagen. They then did it again in stage 2 for Atlanta, but that time Bleed had a second chance. They were able to then make it through anyway. We head into this one, Nighthaven Labs, like you said. This was selected by Fury, and then after that we've got Chalet, if required, but probably now won't go to because you've jinxed it. It would be Border. Now, 2 maps in this sort of map pool that Falcons, again, Falcons with a lot of subs yesterday, did in fact play against Lost One. So they did play Labs. They obviously lost that one. They got 7-0 on Border. We'll see whether or not we do get there. Falcons to begin on the defense as we welcome them to SI, essentially. And, of course, same for Fury.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion point, right? The longer this series persists, perhaps the more difficult it gets for Falcons, considering that they have, you know, recently traveled to make it to the event. And no doubt that will take a toll on them mentally, physically. And Siege is a very stressful game at this level. We'll kick things off, though, on the top floor. And the minigame for the main breach will begin. The meta for opening up the wall is typically the attack getting vertical pressure from down below. It makes it difficult to keep hard breach denial on the wall. We see that play out. The wall opened up with the ace.
Yeah, curious to see what Fury is going to bring to the table here. I think they're a good team without probably being a great team, especially locally. I certainly do rate them. One thing that Fury has always stood out with as well is they are a proper 4-5. Obviously, you look at I9, formerly known as Napew, used to play on Elevate, actually played at R6 Invitational 2022. Everyone else in this server right now is actually making their SI debut, besides I9. But they are a proper core 5 kind of team. They're not the kind of team where they say have a Mowgli that goes and gets 40 kills in 2 games. That's not them. 90 seconds, bit of a slow start. Hi! Oh, nice opening kill though for Quips. That's going to be I9, who was just getting some props to lose his life.
Yeah, drive peeking on the Grim, ill-advised, especially now with the rebound ability. Jump out from Mad. Skills is good for his one. And this has really petered out from Fury. A disappointing opening round. BG can farm a couple of kills for the stats. I say that, still 70 seconds, 1v2, but entering this crossfire on this site, Falcons should have it on lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, if there is going to be one player probably on Fury, it is BG, man, over a 1.15 rating. Makes him a very solid individual option for Fury. 1 versus 2, difficult, but has just under 60 seconds, so time aplenty on his side. A couple of drones as well still to maybe try and play off of. One gas paper available for P9. And that drone, very much going to get at least something from it. Ironically, against the Solars, he gets the information. Couple of peak shots, probably not understanding that O-Kills has already pushed up though. And this is the Falcons that we expect. This is the Falcons that have obviously made a name for themselves when it comes to Rainbow Six Siege. Internationally, at big events, at big tournaments.
Yeah, a bit more subdued now from Fury. We saw in the pre-game they were very up and about, and I think it was mentioned on the desk, very much a vibes sort of team, right? Where when the vibes are good and everyone's energetic and up and about and feeling confident, they play well, but they can sometimes peter out and sort of funnel into that negativity. So a slow start from them, but strong from Falcons. I will say probably the most concerning thing from Fury, they never got to the point in the round where on that side you're having to try and break crossfires. They never got themselves set. And that may well be a very deliberate decision from Falcons, because we've seen time and time again on that objective across the leagues that we've covered, right? If you allow the attack to set, there's almost nowhere to play safely. So I really like that from Falcons, and we'll see if that's a trend that continues across the map.
Yeah, I felt like Fury were a little bit stagnant in their approach in that last round, where they weren't really able to get a whole lot inside of the building. We saw a little bit of a lurk over towards blue, and then that was shut down, and then everyone else was just kind of outside breach and dying to exterior shots. We got the basement for the second round. Tank and assembly, as chosen by Falcons. Of course, this is a tournament, though, that has again proven to be significantly defender-sided. I don't expect that to change in this particular series either. So probably expecting Falcons to have a decent first half here. The onus would then be on Fury, of course, to try and change the narrative a little bit. And that's going to be a very easy breach towards site. No contest at all defensively by Falcons. No Tubarão, no Kaid. Of course, Tubarão banned out. Can still bring the Bandit, could still bring the Kaid. Instead, they do allow the breach to get opened very comfortably. Looking at their particular setup, though, I do wonder if Falcon's going to be looking to put more pressure up above rather than on site.
They're probably looking to lean heavily into the R6, which has now been drawn out by I9. And this attack may look to converge on towards that position. Mad Skills comes across for support. Queers as well, alongside, so a heavy stack on the roam here from Falcons. Again, indicating to me that there is a deliberate decision to aggress off-site and not allow Fury to set themselves up in the positions that they want. They get the first kill again. A delayed response here, up above, but a good trade. Falcons just continuing to apply this pressure.
For White, and gets away. And those are the little moments. Probably the top teams wouldn't allow Mad Skills to get into a position where he survives that. In the end, Quips actually gets the kill onto like Colas. Bit of a beatdown in this round from Falcons onto Fury. Even despite the fact that Dark is bringing that Jackal to try and deal with this extensive roam from Falcons. Got a couple of pings. They were playing off of that. Despite all of it, Falcons have been able to basically win out this round, even with the pressure. Dark with a sweep across spray eventually gets the kill onto O kills. Okay, 60 seconds. Life brought back into the round with a 3 versus 2 moment. But I9 and Dark are very low on health. Going into the final 60 seconds. Now need to make their way over towards the basement. Not going to be easy. When you consider also those Fenrir with the F-Not mines. I mean, how do you even push sight at this point? Either Mad Skill still with the Azami and Kiva barriers can block so much vision. Let alone the fact that it's a 2 versus 3. Really difficult from here. I9 drone shot out, low on health, needs to make the push here. 30 seconds, got to get going.
He has one flash to play off. Can that create perhaps a pocket of opportunity here for himself and Dark to combine? 20 seconds, P9 to fall on the vert. Dark, though, will need to scamper towards the staircase, get himself in a playmaking position. 10 seconds now remains, I9 to push forward. Dark has a smoke, the F-Not mine though, to project his position to the defense. I9 vaults, another F-Not mine as his teammate falls. He has to stick the plant, it should be denied. He gets off and Falcons claim round 2.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing when it comes to Fury in that moment again. I think similarities to that opening round, that sort of stagnant nature. To be fair, earlier in the round, they did try and play into that roam. We saw them bring the Jackal, try and take those engagements. I thought that was good, but then when it came down to that 3 versus 2, 60 seconds left, they really just slowed it right down. I mean, at least made it 2 versus 2 with a bit of that vert play. But again, Falcons are just looking like the better team. I mean, fundamentally across the board here, Fury need to just pick up the pace. Again, attacking, sure. They were the ones that picked this map, though. And certainly Falcons look fired up. I mean, from what we've seen of them to begin with, this is different. Yesterday, again, clean slate. You can basically say they didn't even play yesterday.
Yeah, they've been cold and calculated, and I think that last round for Fury, it started as a bit of a lazy roam clear, and then it transitioned into just an incompetent roam clear. Instead of going completely top down from the very beginning or gaining the information they needed, they got caught in the middle ground, tried to attack, hit straight storage, garage, didn't work out. It's almost getting to the point where if Fury aren't confident in clearing the roam, they may well need to just look at going for more direct site hits and trying to catch Falcons off guard, because if you have 3 players off site without the verticality, you can look to actually overwhelm the objective, but I just don't think that Fury at the moment are projecting the sort of confidence that you need to actually execute that.
Yeah, and I wonder if the Jackal was maybe a factor in that. Sometimes when you've got that Inox scanner, you can just kind of get a little bit lazy in your approach. You think, okay, just find footprints and then track and then try and hunt down. And then you kind of skip a couple of steps in terms of clearing out other positions, especially when there's multiple players that are roaming. So far, so good from Falcons. Cribs leading the way with 4 kills, Mad Skills with 3. Right now, very difficult to find probably too many plaudits for Fury. Difficult start. Again, they picked this map, but attack might be difficult for maybe both teams. We'll see. Second half always tells the full picture. Getting inside the building, though, and not losing lives, I think has to be the first checklist for them in this particular round.
Now, it didn't really amount to much right at the very beginning of the round. We almost saw an interaction there between CritJ on the Zofia and Okills on the Solus, but that's just something to keep in the back of the mind heading into the late round, that Solus can elect to lurk down below, play for plant denial, depending on where Fury look to hit site. So that's going to be very intriguing to track. Nitro still to come forward.
Oh, is that close? Shotgun
to
swing.
peek, gets the down. The trade doesn't land. P9 good for 2. The SMG for the 3rd. It's going to be a perfect start for Falcons. And Fury just do not look awake at the moment.
I mean, take the inadvertent timeout. BG man, just stay on the roof. You've got minute 15, really talk things over. You might even need the full tactical timeout as well, because so far this has just been a very dismal looking attack from Fury. And I'm not all too surprised. And credit very much to Falcons. And why? Because they're getting on the front foot. We saw that there with P9. Nitrocell follows up with a shotgun. They are seeking the contact. They're looking to set the pace, set the tone. They are the ones that are wanting to make the rounds go into their way of things, the way that they want to play. Fury just look like they're reactive. They're sitting outside. They're not wanting to enter the building. They're scared. They can't roam clear. They can't hit sight. It is a struggle. And BG Man does the right thing to take the time. Let's talk things over. Let's cool down. Let's take a bit of the sting out of the momentum that Falcons have already gained through the opening 3 rounds. They do the world score, and they do so emphatically. Fury on the ropes early.
I mean, I think at this point, if you're in the Fury camp, you've had enough exposure to what the Falcons are bringing defensively that I don't think it's really a case of understanding what they're doing. It's going to be formulating a response and having, again, the confidence to execute that Fury. And I think it was sort of leaning into what Lax was mentioning on the desk, right, where in this kind of meta, you cannot afford to be timid, because you are just going to get absolutely destroyed by the aggression that you can bring on attack and both defensively as well. So for Fury, they've had a solid minute now to just relax, forget the first 3 rounds and take the learnings from those objectives into the second half of their attack.
They do not opt for a tactical timeout, but admittedly just had an inverted one anyway, with the minute and 15 seconds of BG Man sitting on the roof. Rough start again. This is a really good highlight here from P9. Lovely flick of the wrist. The second then from Dunk. Probably does the right thing. He's looking for the trade. That's kind of what you need to do. It's what you're taught. Twister very happy here. And a great start for Falcons. Clean. Not really making mistakes either. They haven't put a foot wrong. Fury just don't look like a team that has the confidence. Couple of half-hearted fist bumps, but clearly know that they've been well and truly outmatched through the opening 3 rounds. They've got to find a way to turn it around, and maybe it will be through a man with a shield. Blitz, CritJ will be bringing it this round in the 4th round.
Yeah, so a definite switch here from Fury. They're bringing the Ying as well to probably try and facilitate the ability to overload positions instead of, sitting back, playing timid and waiting for the contact, being the contact themselves, which again, it's the way you need to be playing Siege at the moment. So I like that change of mentality, at least from an operator selection point of view. Now let's see what the execution's like. Have they been able to reset themselves mentally, prepare themselves for this next round? And of course, from the perspective of Falcons, are they going to be ready for adaptation throughout this half?
Yeah, I mean, I think typically we see is when it comes to blitz on labs, you can typically open up, say, like IT and then push through. We'll see what Crit J eventually does opt to do here. Options are plenty. I also don't hate necessarily sitting on the roof and then droning, just trying to get some information before eventually making play, because clearly they've been dying out towards the exterior anyway. So far, it's a 4-man stack on the roof.
I think it's just going to be a Gon 6 hit top blue and overload that with the Ying.
Yep.
Could work potentially.
But again, it goes into at least now they're trying to set the play. Now they're trying to do something. It is certainly taking some time.
They've been doing it for so long now that I think Falcons are probably expecting something.
Well, there's the Gon 6. Immediately the pop, followed by the man with the shield. Crit J, though, lost basically his kneecaps. Just barely stayed alive, but it's Quibs who gets the kill anyway onto I9. And that has just been completely undone. That was your win condition. You're back outside on the exterior. You got 90 seconds left in the round. You lost the player. You've gained nothing and lost everything in terms of time. It's really difficult right now to find the positives for Fury, but this has just been a really rough start. To be fair, mostly because Falcons, I think, are just playing really well defensively, not giving Fury any kind of space, denying everything. Got so much map control. Crit J now just trying to see if he can lurk around the map. 60 seconds left. Kendall thrown in from BG Man. Is there a follow-up, though? Not really. Trying to get themselves up towards top warehouse, but under a minute remaining, and again, they don't have a whole lot.
Looking to maybe transition something from Garage Rafters in towards the objective. A lot of that utility from the Azami and Kiba barriers, though, as Crit J will lurk back towards top blue. This is where the attack really started for Fury and then petered out. More utility, though, facing towards this position, so Mad Skills once again will be able to force the pace of this push. 30 seconds on the clock, Candela to go out, not blind. Smoke still stands, just obscuring his vision at the moment. The swing comes through, plays contact, Crit J to trade, a shot in the back of the head. 15 seconds now on the clock. Fury do not have the diffuser in hand as another player will fall. Favorable positions again from the defense. Crit J tries as he might, but there's nothing he can do in that position. Round number 4, and that's 4 straight to the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, left scratching your head as to what to do. Falcons making noise inside and outside of the server. 4-0. Fury looks speechless. They look stunned.
I think that last round is really indicative of Fury just not mentally being in the headspace to be playing competitive Siege at the moment, right? When we talk about ideas like, you know, split theory, it's where you're spreading your attack and trying to exploit weakness and distracting and throwing off the defense. In that previous round, Fury spent a good 30 seconds with everyone just sitting on the roof looking at each other, not really committing to the play. And while that was happening, there wasn't anything else around the map to maybe pull Falcons into an unfavorable position. I think Falcons, with, you know, the experience that they have, at some point during that 30 seconds, like, okay, guys, they're probably going to try and do something, say a top blue push or maybe a bot garage rafters rush or whatever. And they were sitting, they were ready, they had the smoke in place. It didn't really pose a threat. And that, to me, just, again, projecting that Fury at the moment are lacking a lot of confidence. And obviously, a huge amount of that goes to the Falcons. They've set the pace so early with their aggression, and they have not relented.
It's looking ominous early for Fury, but we've seen plenty of teams when it comes to the history of Siege turn things around when it looks bleak and dire. That's what exactly they're going to need to do. Need to find a way to mentally reset. I think Chris is going to get a very easy trick there. No surprise. BG Man then goes around to actual main breach.
I'm reloading.
And opts not to open up. Still have the exothermic, and of course the X-Car is available through Lycolas. Last time out on tank and assembly, though, by opening up main breach, I think within inside the first 30 seconds. Now a little bit more contested with the Bandit bike whips. It's got the 6 kills. Very even performance so far from the Falcons, and I've liked what I've seen from them. BG Man goes over towards IT, opens that up. Maybe look for that. It's got a top-down approach clear, knowing that they're bringing that R6 in there. Got the souls.
So Mad Skills then inside of Electrical.
Has he been droned? I don't honestly think he has.
That's exactly what I'm questioning in the back of my mind.
And there's the answer.
Finally, something goes the way of Fury. Dark to find pick number 1 in round 5. That's Chalet to fall on the R6, alleviating some of the pressure on the Roam. The unfortunate thing for Fury is, though, they haven't been in this position to convert a favorable circumstance. So this is another challenge that's been thrown their way, but at least they're positive in that regard.
Yeah, a challenge that they can get a very solid reward from. Honestly, 2 attacking rounds could end up being enough. So big round here, 5th round for Fury. Nitro thrown out by Quips, but he's got no time to detonate it. Anyway, Dark gets that kill. Second one puts the spear to good use. 3 versus 5, and Madskill's getting the idea that he needs to get probably back towards site. They're losing numbers, losing gunfights. Finally, Fury have maybe awoken.
I'm reloading.
It's a good point that you bring up. 2 rounds on the attack with the proficiency of defense we've seen throughout the event so far. Could be on the money. Still, though, no guarantee that they convert the round. Mad Skills tapping away. Him and I9 have just been tap dancing over the last 30 seconds or so, but eventually something needs to give, and it's Mad Skills to fall back.
And speaking of 30 seconds, that's exactly how much is left on the clock now. Towards site 3 for Falcons. Certainly in a position where they could still play spoiler in this 5th round. Fury might have the numbers for now, but they're still going to clear and get their site under control. They lose Dark. A good trade, though, comes through from Crit J. That one final Adrenal Surge might just be enough to aid for Fury. Mad Skills loses that fight. P9 only sees white. Now unblinded, but nothing in his vision that he can shoot at. Lycolis will get the plant down uncontested. 1 versus 3, never mind. I9 takes down P9, and Fury get their opening round here on Nighthaven Labs. Towards the close of this first half, they only need probably 1 more round. Suddenly, how quickly things can maybe flip.
Yeah, Siege can be a funny game. And increasingly so, a 2-4 split towards the attack is actually not all that bad.
It's not horrible.
Again, I think it was very much the way in which Fury were playing, the way they were presenting themselves on the cameras, which for me was probably more distressing than the
There's losing and then there's
the
opening 3.
Sometimes you can lose, but at least the rounds are close and competitive, and you can see light at the end of the tunnel. The first 4 rounds for Fury were actually quite grim. Round number 5, though, far more positive, looking sharp. They had the advantage, they converted it. So some good work from the lads.
And nothing too crazy. Dark goes in, double kill, opens things up, clear that roam. Obviously, then it's that mad dash scramble back towards basement for Falcons. So they're out of position, they're not quite set. Gives Fury that sort of vert play. And then, of course, they've got the numbers to attack site itself.
10 seconds left.
Siege can be a simple game if you don't overcomplicate it.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Well,
Nah, it's
I mean, it kind of can be. Sure, yeah.
So 4-1, final round of the half. Fury. Yeah, it's crazy to think if they do find a way to get this round, you'd give them every chance defensively. Very pivotal round coming up here. Falcons have looked very clean in the rounds that they've won, though.
I'm hearing EMPs, detonate impact EMPs down below. But once again, the wall is being bandit juggled. So that's going to make things a little bit challenging. Drone work up above from Crit J, so we'll probably see Fury stake their claim on the top floor and transition that to down below. Single wall, I believe, has not been reinforced. So an intriguing decision there from Falcons.
Well, I think it kind of further strengthens trying to keep that main breach from being opened up. They've brought the shock wires, and then if you open up the single wall, you've got vision in terms of what or who can be allowed in towards to try and open up that main breach. Still got 1 more secondary EMP through I9, which has actually got the Hive launcher being utilized at the moment from the Grim. Secondary hard bridge opening up in towards IT. Dark and then with a drone. They've got, of course, the Azami to deal with the mad skills. Time being wasted, though, by this extensive roam up above from Falcons, and the set from the Azami again. Cadela's in for BG Man to try and clear this Raptors position. Mad Skills is on an island. But no, has a bit of help. Dark losing his life from J-Lad down below. And suddenly, again, Fury kind of just look like they're lost.
Yeah, they don't know how to deal with this roam. It's a fairly simple roam from Mad Skills. Blocking down a couple of key hallways with support down below from the Nitro Cells. Elsewhere, Fury have at least worked single wall, so they may now be able to transition this in towards the objective off the back of the ground, flush out some space. The vertical pressure, though, from the Falcons and the lines of side offered to the defense will make this a challenge. Like Colas almost catches P9 off guard. Mad skills elsewhere, good for another. The roam clear from Fury is a failure. We'll see if their push in towards site can perhaps be a little bit more successful. The answer to that, a resounding no. BG Man 1v5. It's a flawless round for Falcons and a 5-1 half.
It kind of just feels like everything Fury did good in that 5th round. They just threw it all away in that 6th round. Solid work, though, from Mad Skills. I want to give him absolute massive plaudits there. It's never easy when you're kind of playing that solo position up above. You're playing on the Azama, you're playing your own, you keep it barriers. You've got a lot of different players trying to maybe overload your position. Gets a lot of help, though, from Chalet, of course, with that Nitrocell. Lets him win that position. With that, a lot of time was already wasted. They couldn't clear the roam. They had no vert. Yes, they opted then to go through single wall, but that's a wall that was not reinforced anyway. So clearly Falcons were aware that this is an entry point they could come through, we could let them funnel through, and then they just dealt with that. And by that point as well, there was no utility remaining for Fury to deal with things like BPCs, they had no vert, and hence why it ended up being a very flawless round, and the kind of round where it just did not look like Fury knew what to do in terms of opening it up. 5-1. They had an opportunity to get to 2-4. Certainly might not have been a scoreline that would have been deserved. I think this is very much a scoreline that is well and truly deserved by Falcons. They have looked very clean and clinical. And honestly, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if this ends up being a 7-1 speed run of Nighthaven Labs. A map picked by Fury as well.
Yeah, it wouldn't be particularly shocking. The Montang to be brought out here from Falcons for their first attacking effort. And again, a couple of different positions where that shield can be played. Wouldn't be too shocked if we see the Monty post inside of Garage, Rafters to try and get space there, or even directly through the breach once IT is opened up. Roteros as well from O-Kills on the Flores, and that's a great counter towards the Azami. And Azami on this particular objective can really make or break things defensively because it does offer a lot of cover against some of the crossfires that the attack can establish. Thatcher to work the wall. BG Man not in a position to trick, not even vertical pressure down below from Falcons, but BG Man doesn't want to take his chances. And IT wall now opened up.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
Yeah, a lot kind of invested as well when you kind of look at the fact that brought the Bandit, they brought the Kaid, and IT gets opened up really early into the round anyway. Of course, not much you can do when Thatcher's on the board, but then hence why you're kind of doubling down there with double denial. Still, with the mirror, something that can be played on through like Colas, although at the moment it is on a donut, unfortunately. And the Montang is like, it's going to be something that Fury, again, are going to have to deal with. And again, when you bring this Montang and you're bringing this pressure, it's Falcons setting the tone. It did so on the defense, doing so now again on the attack. Live human droning from Mad Skills is proving to be quite strong here with the early pings and able to deal with the mirror really easily. The lineup Fury have got here has just been completely countered by Falcons.
Yeah, that's the beauty of attacker repick. They've selected the correct operators and their positions as well make sense. They convert it though. Time beginning to slowly wither, and Fury hasn't given away a pick, which is critical for the defense. If they do, positions will unlock. It gets a lot more challenging. But they're holding firm, resisting this pressure the best they can at the moment.
No impact, one Nitrocell on I9. That, to me, I think is going to be critical. He is close by to that Montang. It's P9 that opens up the account, though. A little bit late into the round, 50 seconds remaining, and finally Dark goes down. Nice little shot from Crit J. Notices another one on the blue stairs and does get the kill. So really nice from Crit J, playing off of the information that he already had, plus also the quick flick on the info he didn't have. 4 versus 3, advantage Fury, 30 seconds as Mad Skills is in towards Command Center, and I think has been able to get himself into a very interesting position here, as like Colas is really between a rock and a hard place or a chassis and a man with a shield.
Well, either way, he's dead, and hold that thought. It's a 2 versus 2. 10 seconds on the clock. Mad Skills committed to cross, but unfortunately his cover has been taken down as J-Led falls to I9. 1 HP, can't find the kill, and Fury mount a response.
Yeah, much better. I think you mentioned it with like a minute left in the round. It was at that point still a 5 versus 5. And I think that was very critical in Fury winning that round. They were able to not lose players. They didn't play out of position. They didn't try to do anything too crazy. And yes, in theory, as the game was progressing, Falcons were getting more and more position. You could clearly see they got main breach opened up really easily. They dealt with the mirror, got a bit of that control towards Garage Rafters. But the main thing was Fury didn't lose players. Then Jay makes a big play over towards Blue, gets the double kill, and from there, the round started to go their way, even despite the Montang kind of doing what he pleased.
Yeah, I mean, for me, CritJ, this is the play that wins them the round, right? How he knew Oakills was to his left and he hits the flick, I will never know. But of course, already saw the second and was able to hit the pre-fire. That was a really key moment in the round. If CritJ even just gets a little bit unlucky with timing and dies and unlocks that blue position for Falcons, they would have been overloaded. And it would have been very difficult for Fury to retake, especially in the face of the Monty. So, yeah, big play from him. And that has what has lacked from Fury. Obviously, yes, teamwork and coordination, especially on the roam clear attacking, was quite poor. But we also didn't see a lot of big individual efforts which can turn around. So that was a good positive sign for them. And we'll see if they can build it up into something a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and not impossible to think Fury are incapable of, tying this one up. 5-1 half is something that we see teams be able to bring back all the time, especially in what is now a very defensive-sided meta. They do switch things up, though, quite extensively by now bringing the Goyo. Manskill's looking to open up single wall. We'll be able to do so, yeah, pretty comfortably. Again, Thatcher's available. Thatcher's on the board. Oh, no. Going for a claw trick here to deny at least main breach. Did go early. Manskill's then gets off of it. Does need to be careful. He's the only main hard breacher, and only 2 secondaries available through O-kills on the Ying.
Exothermic used on the garage wall. That's the second and final charge available to the Thermite. And Falcons now will look to converge on this position.
Helps them clear that roam up above rather than the over-focus down below. Oh, nice little push here from Dark. Okay, that's much better from Fury. Does get traded, yes, but was able to at least get that elimination onto O-kills, who, of course, playing a pretty power operator with the Ying. The Kandalas will be very strong later in the round. I think that's worth it. Yes, you're on the Solus, but
yeah.
And only 3 drones have been eliminated. I still think it's okay. And more than anything, it's the fact that Fury at least trying to do something there defensively. 90 seconds left, 4v4. Not too sure exactly what their first floor control is like. Don't really see too many outlines.
No, it's clear. That should be good. Can look to maybe establish some vertical pressure.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
I think, yeah, going back to your point, probably a good trade for the defense. Obviously, Solus strong, but without a Warden. Ying, very powerful. Wouldn't be complaining too much about that. 9-9 for Nitro. Drops J-Lad. As I mentioned, Falcons probably wanting to establish some pressure from up above.
Yep.
Using that buck, no longer available. And again, Fury, they've converted these positions similarly on the attack, and now it's just about having the discipline to close it out defensively. Don't over-peak. Try to hold your crossfires. Don't make mistakes, because Falcons have shown and proven thus far that they will punish them.
Definitely does feel like Furious cleaned things up a little bit. I9, oh, he can't get that battle to be won. 2 very quick kills for the Falcons. Opens up sight now with 30 seconds remaining. The numbers advantage. 2 impacts available for BG Man. I mean, arguably, they're the 2 best fraggers at the moment for Fury Alive, and Crit Jake and BG Man, so you can kind of back them in. Over towards Nano with a diffuser in hand for Mad Skills on the rotate. Crit Jake watching that entry point, 10 seconds left. Now in the 1 versus 3. It has fallen apart, although technically a 1v1 now against Quivs, as P9 and Mad Skills are both on the floor. Time is the friend now of Crit Jake and Fury. Don't need to peek, just need to hide, and hide he does for the win. A little bit scrappy, a little bit messy, but a win is a win.
It was one of those really strange clutches where it was like all over the place in terms of pacing and timing, but credit, they're holding on in the 1 versus 3, play it down. Obviously shoulder peaks right at the very end for a little bit of additional info with only a couple seconds remaining. Then of course doesn't over peak. Some players in that position, especially under pressure when you're trailing, may look to force a play and confirm the round that way, but knew that the gap could not be closed. And so Fury able to collect another round. They do call a tactical timeout. And perhaps that belief now is starting to be reignited just a little bit.
Yeah, I think a really well-timed tactical here from Falcons. 5-3. Okay, you've given up a couple of rounds now. In fact, 3 of the last 4 rounds have gone the way of Fury. And of course, they did pick up very late an attacking round to close out in the first half. Signs of life now starting to really blossom for a team that, being completely honest, the opening 3-4 rounds, they looked like they shouldn't be here. But we've given them some time, and the last 3 to 4 rounds have looked far and away better from Fury. But again, a really well-timed timeout from the Falcons, just to cool things off, because momentum is now in play here for Fury. You win a couple of rounds, you start to just feel a little bit more comfortable inside the server, and what do you do with that comfort? You start to do plays like that from Dark with the run out, got the kill. I think he also timed it really well, because it was at a point in the round 2 where probably Fury were opting to give them that first floor control anyway, so at least go out with a swing.
You've got to be careful where you're wagging that finger.
10
You almost
seconds to go.
poked me in the eye. I don't want to lose my eye, and it's only day 2.
5 seconds to
SI.
go.
Gee whiz.
Attacker's objective is to locate a bomb.
Round number
and
9,
defuse it.
though. And Fury still trailing, but closing the gap. And defensively, they look far more comfortable. The bar was quite low on comfort levels, considering attacking they were struggling, but we'll take the positives where we can find them.
We did kind of mention as well in that first half that defense was going to be the prevailing factor, at least the more likely one, and so far playing out in that direction. Only 1 attacking round has been converted by either team going into the 9th round. Speaks volumes, really, of the tournament that we're having so far at SI24.
Attackers
Once again, focused over towards IT. Once again, dealt with rather easily because that Thatcher is available.
Yeah, so some decent groundwork done here early on in the round for Falcons. Obviously, Fury putting stock up above as Crit J gets pressured, I believe, from IT and falls into the arms of J-Lad. Fortunately for Fury, disconnected, not in a tradable position, like Colas as well, 0-7. Player that's been fighting since 2018 to make 6 Invitational. Lost Pro League Season 8 to Fnatic, Season 9 to Noarango, Season 10 to Wildcard. All of those would have qualified him for the event.
And he's just gotten his first ever SI kill.
Attackers recovered
Oh,
the
there we
bomb
go.
diffuser.
Talk about timing. 4 versus 3. Falcons with really rapid kind of map control, though Oakill's still outside in the exterior. Being utilized there for I9. J-Lad surviving what feels like a second Nitro Cell somehow. By the barest of margins, though, to be fair, and had just enough health to be able to run through that claw and not die. So low. Now looking to play off of some ping information and put that skeleton key to good use through server. O'Kills gets rid of Lycolas. Celebrations short-lived. Falcons just feel like they've got total control of this round. I9 does have some information, though, that he's looking to play off of. If he do so, might just bring the round back, is unable to convert, though, onto Matt Skills and eventually just get absolutely overwhelmed by Quibs. Falcons have got themselves map point, and multiple of them. Much better from the Falcons on the attack there. Significant map control, really sharp in their approach of just pushing through. Opened up IT very early, going towards Con, got a couple of kills, easy denial of the roam of Fury, 6-3.
Yeah, I was definitely a little bit concerned that perhaps on the tertiary objective, that's when things could fall apart a little bit for Fury. Unfortunately for them, if they want to push the game now to overtime, they are going to have to well and truly win a tertiary round at some point. At least for now, they can find comfort back on the primary sites as they'll begin to unlock again. Things are not getting off to the best of starts. The roam clear from Falcons is pretty ruthless. They then sat outside holding the crossfires back towards the objective on that first floor itself, really constricting the defense.
A round of moments as well there. J-Lad just somehow being able to survive what felt like an onslaught. Eventually gets one of the final kills. And then also the other one
10 seconds left.
was from I9, playing off the red ping, couldn't quite get the kill either. So you think about those kind of like little moments there is really what it comes down to.
Attackers must locate
3
and
match
defuse
points
the
for
bomb.
Falcons, or map points if you will. It is only the opening map of this best of 3. Again, the debut of Fury here for Six Invitational 24, and essentially their debut as well for Falcons. Their result yesterday against Lost One put a line through it. Obviously,
Well, I mean, yeah.
you don't take the points away from Lost One.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing. Falcons have to fight from behind, irrespective of that. But they're off to a good start here, and with 3 match points in the bank. Every world in which they're able to kick this series off with a map win. Also, Fury's map pick, so that opens up the discussion more broadly to a 2-0 victory, 4 points in the bank. That pretty much equalizes the result against Lost, of course. We'll see what they can cook up here, though. Fury on the primary sites defensively looked quite sound.
Oh, Quibs catches out Crip J on the Fenrir. Oh, mad skills though.
Oh,
What? Oh, hang on. What?
that happened?
What's just happened there?
Maybe trying to pre-fire the barricade.
I was
for the
going to
Monty.
say, yeah, maybe just wanting to open things up for his Montang and then just shoots him in the back of the head. Well, that really changes the course of this round. Suddenly, not only do you lose the Montang, but it makes it a 4 versus 4. Candela immediately from O'Kills wanted to get the garage control. Bit of a push outside as well from BG, man. What is happening in this round? It's all going on at the moment. 3 versus 2. 90 seconds left. Barbed wire taken out by O'Kills. Rafters control there, at least momentarily. Makes his way back outside to the exterior on the balcony. Down to just Quibs and O'Kills. In a bizarre round so far. I think Lycola's just made noise, by the way, in the barbed wire. I could be wrong.
O'Kills thought there was a player left side of the door. He was hearing the voices. There was no one there. And I thought perhaps he would push a little bit closer towards Lycolas into his line of sight, but not meant to be. Down below, Quibs on the buck, seeing if maybe he can pluck another kill, which has been one of his trademarks in this series so far, is finding a kill here or there where perhaps the opportunity was only a half chance. 50 seconds, so there's an opportunity, but again, pushing in towards this objective at a man disadvantage. This should be a defensive round almost every day of the week. 3 plays should be enough to establish the crossfires required.
Yeah, he would probably hope so, considering the way that round has played out. Nitrocell was thrown, eventually detonated to no avail. 30 seconds remaining in the round, so time certainly a factor now for Quibs and O'Kills. This is down to player, flashes go out. It does its job, soaks it all in, Lycolas gets the kill, and we just go through basically the run of this round. Done. Okay, on to the next one, because that was a bit of a throwaway from the Falcons after the little mishap in the team kill onto the Montang. Don't really like to see that happen. And obviously a bit of a moment there Falcons would love to have back. Alas, they can't.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we got a POV replay of that, but I can only assume he was attempting to open up the barricade for the Monty. I mean, it goes without saying Montang doesn't want to be smacking the barricade because then you expose your head.
Oh, here we go.
Here is the replay.
Oh.
And yeah, I think he was just going to try and shoot the barricade. Small miscom. Who do you blame there? Do you blame the Montang or do you blame the ace?
No, you gotta blame the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
You gotta blame the guy who's shooting. He's put the bullet in the back of the Montang's head. Come on now.
I mean, I don't really play shields, so
I mean, it's just... I mean, to
I'd
be
be happy
fair,
to pin the blame on him.
Chalet has just gone and done is something I would also probably do. Those are the kind of things that would happen to me. But I mean, like in that moment, just take your time. And you don't have to rush that. I do love that he actually kind of like paused, allowed him to kind of step into the crosshair and then took the shot. Well, up to Fury now to kind of try and bank that
10 seconds remaining.
and build on it. Getting a little reprieve in that round keeps them alive at 6-4. I'm going to be honest, it's a very inflated scoreline. Like, this has not
Attackers
been
must
close.
locate
The
and
rounds
defuse
that
the
Falcons have won, they've won quite in a dominant fashion. But give Fury the credit, they've not really kind of just bowed out here. They are fighting tooth and nail to keep this map alive. And while Falcons did give them a reprieve in that last round, Fury aren't going to be expecting to get that again. Now they really need to bunker down, get to work. Single wall opened up despite the reinforcement.
And again, the groundwork so far from Falcons across the board has been relatively strong. I say that, but they have just burnt an exothermic on the garage wall because the
Mistakes are creeping in.
A bit delayed.
They're just creeping in a little bit, guys.
Is this where you don't want them to be creeping in? This is where you're going to be closing out the damn map.
First 4 rounds of this game, they looked impeccable, made no mistakes. They were super clinical. But as we're getting closer to the end point here of Nighthaven Labs, they're just making the odd little mistake. And it's giving Fury a really good look in here to punish that. And that's what Fury need to do. They did so in the last round. Can they do so again here? Looking to stave off these match points. By all means, it hasn't quite been the most impressive performance from Fury, but they are a very solid team that can certainly punish these kind of mistakes that we've seen thus far. It is P9 that gets the Killer onto Dark. It deals with the Soul as 5 drones have been taken out. 90 seconds remaining, so at least some kind of information has been denied. But enough still remaining. Keep a barrier again thrown out from Lycolas. BG Man playing main. Flashes with the drop here back in towards site. They push away, so they're effectively forced back to site now, which does give vert control for Falcons. Little concern for Fury here. They have nothing up above. They've only got the 1 Nitrocell as well in terms of that vert play from down below. And now for the Boogie Auto Breaches to do its work here from P9 on the ramp.
Yeah, Ram, a very effective operator on this particular objective. A lot of soft floor and long lines of sight that you can establish with drones, keep it come up and perhaps catch a defender off guard. Elsewhere, hatches being opened up. And so the Falcons, I'm sure, will be quite content with the position that they find themselves in at the moment. It's almost getting to the point where Fury need to try and make a play, like Cole is poking over towards the staircase.
There's that Nitro.
Nitro elsewhere. I9 onto P9. Back to Lycolas on the stairs. We'll see if he can swing and find the kill. A lot of damage done, but no pick found. 20
Careful of the vault, careful of the vault. He's gone and done it. He's up close now. Lycolas though, hits the headshot, not the body shot though, onto a very low HP Quibs. Down to I9 and BG Man, but he does win at least one of those battles in a 1 versus 1 now. Quibs and BG Man both low. 10 seconds and time the biggest factor. Actually playing up above, and it's going to have to be very much careful. Good little angle, knows where the diffuser is, throws out the impact. Chris has got no time remaining. Fury hold on once again. It's scrappy. These rounds that Fury are winning are very much so. But a couple of smiles now on their faces as they extend this one to 6-5.
I'm not quite sure how we found ourselves in this position, but a 6-5 scoreline. Fury continue to sort of chip away, scrap it away. Falcons making the odd mistake here or there. A solid round, though, from Fury, who bunkered down Lycolas on the staircase as well, influential. And with that diffuser then on an island, 1 versus 1, good composure. I tell you what, it's a bit of a delight for Asian Siege fans at the moment. Of course, a reminder over on Rainbow Six Bravo, the B stream, Bleed and W7M, so of course Bleed being the 2nd representative from Asia at the event, going toe-to-toe. Currently a very close map on Oregon, 5-5, so nail-biting at the moment on both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, and again, a reminder, Fury locally have been able to dispatch Bleed multiple times. They've got their number. But when it comes to the international level tournament, we've seen Bleed do a lot more than Fury, but they look a little bit more chippier, a bit happier. More smiles on their dials.
I mean, cast your mind back to
5 seconds left.
what, like the conclusion of round number 3. Fury, especially in contrast to the pre-match, looked like they were absolutely gone. It didn't look like they wanted to be there, but now they're back, they're upbeat, they're a bit more confident, and you can see that inside of the server.
Yeah. 6-5. It doesn't matter how you get to this point. It's just about really the destination, not necessarily the journey. The journey's being like a roller coaster for probably both of these teams. Falcons just started just so strong, but mistakes are creeping in and Fury are punishing them. And now you would have to imagine for Falcons, are they going to second guess themselves? Do they have the same level of confidence required to finish this off 7-5 and break the hearts of Fury? Can Fury do enough to send this one to overtime despite a 5-1 deficit? Defense again, the aim of the game here at SI24.
Thatchering B here from P9. I thought maybe he was going to look to cook something on the jump in. I don't know what they would necessarily be placed there from the defense. It's obviously not an F0 from Fenrir. J-Lad getting very loud in the comms there, as you can see on the player cam, making a call. P9 does find the first. So again, Fury going to have to fight from behind and produce a play.
Candela's thrown out. Crit J sensing maybe pressure in behind him. Wants to hold that position in towards top garage. Mid-30. The rafters, still a bit of pressure
The
here from
attacker's bomb
Falcons.
diffuser has been dropped. Attackers recovered the diffuser.
But as you said, again, having to now
Attackers have
play
dropped the
from
bomb
behind. Fury have shown so far in the second half. They've got the capabilities of doing just that. Do mind stepped on?
A bomb
Chalet
has been located.
just slowly bleeding out, but he'll be able to pull that one out. Crit J, oh, that was a bit of a poor positional peek. Overexposed himself rather than the slight angle gap. Losing his life, and now really does give Falcons the reins to close this out. Again, I9 though, with a very critical kill. Candela's means that for BG Man, he's full
Attackers
white.
have
Another one
recovered their diffuser.
being thrown out by O-Kills, who almost overstepped his position, almost lost his life down the hallway. It's Quibs who gets rid of BG Man, and suddenly Falcons in the driver's seat to close this game out 7-5. It's going to take a massive effort from Dark and or I9.
I just don't know if they're going to be in the positions required to make a play. I9 rotating, flashes to come through. Dark likely seeing white. Jumps into a mine, which could cost him his life, but he responds with the kill. Now a 1v4.
In the smoke, gets the kill. Quips is low. So is I9 though, and only 20 seconds remaining. Playing off with the red ping information. Could shoot through the wall here. It's Salty Tales, doesn't get the kill though. And a quick trade there from Matt Kills. All right, job done. Falcons get over the line. Yeah, not their best, but hey, good enough. And a win on the board here for SI24.
It's a weird one. How much do you take away from this match? I guess for the Falcons, right, it got a little bit messy, but they continued to fight. And they got it done in regulation. For Fury on the flip side, also a bit of a slow start, but they continued to chip away, tried to push it to overtime, but not meant to be in the end. I guess more so for the Falcons, right, they've taken their opponent's map pick, an impressive result.
Yeah, very impressive indeed. All right, 1-0 in the books for Falcons. A really solid start for them with their full roster.
Welcome back to SI 2024, live from Sao Paulo, Brazil, where Falcons, a weakened team, had just won their opponent's map pick. And my, did they do it in a dominant fashion, but then kind of not.
I mean, kind of not is definitely the right way to put that. They started out extremely strong. Twist did say, though, that this was going to be looking like a completely different team, and I will say he was not wrong. Granted, that scoreline was very close, and if you were to look at this from an outside perspective, it does look close, but if you're actually to watch the game and see what just happened, a lot of those rounds were gifted.
Yeah, I think that
For free.
For free.
For free.
For free. You've got to look at that game and you've got to put it into a bit of perspective. I think that Falcons did a fantastic job in the opening part of that game. They dominated on the defense, but there were a lot of mistakes there. And Fury, they punished those mistakes very, very heavily. It led us into a game that nearly went into an overtime, but we got the right result in the end based off the seeds we saw.
I mean, one of the funny moments for me was, I mean, both me and you made a comment to it. I think it was round 9 where the Monty was pushing into the rafters. And Ace was just like, nah, I don't think so. I'll do it myself. And completely clears the Monty. And that's what I'm talking about of giving free rounds.
I mean, P9 fresh off the plane this morning and already dropping the KA that he has done today. That is scary because what if he's had a full day of rest?
We know that these guys can shoot. We know that these guys are mechanically gifted players. That is not a question. They showed that today. They showed it inside of this game, and they'll continue to show it inside of the series. It comes down to those mistakes. It comes down to that coordination. It comes down to some of that decision making. That's where we saw them lack. If you can aim, you can aim. You can aim on 1 hour sleep. You can aim on 20 hours sleep. But what you can't do is make critical decisions in the moment, and that's what we saw lacking.
Yeah, and like even just touching up on Fury, I mean, Fury had the prep. They had everything. Obviously, this is a different team, so maybe that prep really didn't get used how they wanted it to be used because yesterday it wasn't the same team. But still, this has been a constant issue that I've seen is just the lack of adapting once a team figures you out, or not even being able to figure out the team. And watching how the game played, like we said, they were getting those gifted rounds. They didn't really earn them.
Yeah, something as well that you wanted to touch upon, Ollie, particularly were the bans of this because you found them rather intriguing.
Well, I mean, it's just the way that Siege is played at the minute, right? You look at a map like Nighthaven, you look at what's available to you. If you've got an Azami, if you've got a Fen, and if you've got a Solace, you're going to have a pretty good time. That's exactly what Falcons had. They started off on the defense, and they used it every single round without fail, and it gave them a good number of rounds. It gave them a really good head start. Obviously, Fury had that same benefit. It just turns out that Falcons were a little bit more equipped to deal with that.
Yeah, but it also brings the question in terms of Fury and their preparation for this labs, particularly how much actually went into it, and how much went into it with the thought process of, oh, we're going to be playing against a different Falcons than the one that we saw yesterday.
I mean, it makes me worried because you're trying, like, in some ways, in a mindset, you are trying to over-prepare in a way or try to get that free win because you saw what just happened, but now seeing the result of your own play, it's less about your own prep at this point, and it's more of what you're putting in as a team. Like, scratch the prep at that point, because if that's what your prep and result is going to look like, then you need to rethink how you're going to approach this next map. Granted, now your backs are against the wall.
Something that we did see Fury try and do was reset when they were on the attack. There were a couple of times when, because of what was available and because of Falcons' playstyle and it leading into their playstyle so well, we saw Fury at times trying to reset, trying to take that moment and take that breath. And it worked in some occasions, but it never really fully worked. They never got that full mental reset off, and they never got that ability to reclaim that man count advantage. Falcons did a fantastic job on the opening pick, but they also did a great job on trading that opening pick when they lost it.
Yeah, and if this map being a win from Falcons might not have been what you expected, we have a Stream B going on at the same time, and we have Bleed going up against W7M. Now, to my surprise particularly, Bleed had just taken a map off of W7M.
I mean, Bleed didn't look bad at the Atlanta Major either. I mean, they were really close of making main stage, losing, I believe, to Dark Zero in the end, but they pushed Dark Zero to the brink. So I think every map went 8-7, 8-7, and it was just small things that they lost at. So I don't want to say it's like a huge surprise, but Bleed are they're showing why that they're here. They're showing why you shouldn't sleep on them. They're showing why that they're contenders, and taking a map off W7M is something to be proud of, nonetheless.
Yeah, something to be proud of and maybe something to celebrate. They looked happy, but not as happy potentially as you might expect them to be, especially the low Sonics game that we saw. The energy, Ollie, in the room at that point in time was insane. We're translating it now. We have Falcons going up against Fury, and it doesn't feel like that same energy is being exuded.
These players are tired.
Yeah.
Like, you know, these players are tired. I want to save their energy for the game. Save that energy for your brain power in the server. Don't use it on the whooping and the hollering. Twister's going to do enough of that for you.
For sure.
Twister really gets behind the team. You know, you can see him there. He's giving the big shoulder rubs. He's giving the big fist pumps. He's dapping everybody up, and that's what you need. You need that guy to bring that energy.
If I'm coming off a 20-hour flight too and playing an intense game, trust me, there isn't going to be a single yell coming from me. It's going to be a nice fist bump. Let's go into the next round.
But then you're looking at the side of Fury, and they have had that break. They have had that day of rest yesterday. So what's there? Is this just potentially what we're used to from Fury's side of things? Do you think bringing that energy up could have potentially given them a little bit more momentum on their own map?
I think it's team by team. I think some teams really work well with that, you know, yelling, hype, building up energy. And I think some teams just like to be calm, cool, collect. They don't want to get overzealous. They don't want to get overhyped then for a shocking result and being like, well, this is a result of, you know, not being overhyped. And it is good to, you know, try to maybe bring a little hype, not be hype. It's kind of like just feeling out the grounds. But I think right now with kind of how things are going on, it does make a little sense that they aren't getting too overhyped. And maybe going into this next map, maybe that's what they're going to do. They're going to talk to each other. Hey, we need to be more vocal. We need to be having a lot more fun. We need to be enjoying ourselves. Because that is the best thing you can do in Siege, is when you're not having a great game, is to start playing and enjoying it.
Yeah, and as a reminder, if you don't remember what the next map will be, we'll have the map picks and bans, or the map veto showing up. And when we're looking at the next map, particularly Ollie, going to be Chalet, if I do remember that correctly, which I do. Oh, look at that. Chalet coming up next. In terms of the performances here, Ollie, that we've seen from Fury particularly, and in terms of their history on a map like this, from a scale of 1 to worried, how worried are you?
I'm not particularly worried. Obviously, we're looking at a smaller sample size of data here, so it isn't like we're, you know, dragging a whole year worth of maps back, because it just isn't relevant at this point. They've played it a couple of times recently. They've got mixed success, 50% win rate, 2 wins, 2 losses. That's inside of the ECS. So take from that really what you will. I don't think that map preference is going to come into this as much as we maybe think it will. It really is more about a battling of these two teams and how are they going to deal with Falcons on this map, because it can play out very similarly to the way that we see something like Nighthaven play out, and Fury just didn't have that aggression. You can throw as much aggression as you want at this Falcons team, because they're going to lap it up and they're going to throw it all right back at you.
And to add on to going now into Chalet, it is a map that is a little more open up. It's not as constricting as Nighthaven is in terms of those different doorways, in terms of those long hallways or shorter hallways, or even just small condensed rooms. There is a little more breathing room here, so that will allow Fury to move around a little more and maybe play a little more loose. But still, it comes down to what you were saying, is that these guys are just going to have to be on top of it. Doesn't matter what you're doing, you got to be in it as a team. You need to be in unison, and if everything that you're doing and understanding how you weren't performing the last game in Nighthaven, having all that prep, coming into this game and just figuring out where your errors were from that Nighthaven and applying it here into Chalet, regardless of it being a brand new map.
Yeah, but that touches upon the topic of adaptability, something that we've discussed earlier on the desk. Ollie, does it feel when it comes to the rounds that Fury was able to get under their belt that adaptability was there? And similarly for Falcons, was it there as well?
I think Falcons' adaptation was probably worse than Fury's in that previous game. I'm going straight with you, because of how many rounds they lost. They lost 4 rounds on the bounce. They lost a lot of those rounds based off the fact that it was a very poor circumstance. They weren't really focusing on getting the job done. They'd done the hard work, like that was the annoying thing. You look at those rounds and you think, right, what's the hardest thing? Hardest thing is getting that first thing sorted. They'd done that hard work. They didn't do the easy bit of closing it out.
All right, and with that also, we are ready to head into game. So this is do or die for Fury. Can they bring this series back and go all the way to the decider? Let's find out with our casters as we head into Chalet.
Yeah, big moment coming up for Fury to see if they can get on the board here for SI24, now heading into Chalet and essentially need to take the map pick of Falcons away from them. But I think it's interesting going into this second map, because Fury did pick up the pace a little bit towards the end of Nighthaven Labs.
Yeah, they showed a little bit of resilience. Will it be enough on their opposition's map pick? I'm hesitant to say yes at this point in time, but hopefully it's a little bit cleaner to kick things off for both teams. I think it was a slow start for both rosters over on Nighthaven Labs, and we'll see if it can be tidier here on Chalet.
Oh, I thought it was a really solid start from Falcons. I thought their first three, 4 rounds were very clean. Didn't really make any mistakes, weren't putting a foot wrong. And by the end of the game, sure, started to maybe unwind a little bit. It's been a long day for the Falcons, but either way, we head to Chalet. Everyone's very much looking warmed up and ready to go. Fury will begin on defense. Again, defense is king here at this particular event as Dokkaebi does get banned out by Fury. One thing that is interesting for the Falcons, I think, coming into this, though, is, again, you're getting rid of yesterday's results. If they can get the win against Fury, though, really does open up the possibilities for them in this particular group. When you take into account there's the likes of Scars, lost one, have looked a little bit shaky. Obviously, they have already played that particular matchup, but still, that's an interesting ban onto the Ossa. Not too sure. Maybe Falcons have kind of cooked a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the only way I can describe that as being a target ban directly towards Fury, an operator that they play on this particular map. I mean, I'm trying to cast my mind back to Fury.
Tuberel
And
on Chalet.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I guess maybe basement.
Yeah, basement 2-brow is quite strong. We've seen a little bit of it here and there. Perhaps not enough to warrant a ban, but anyway, I'll stick by it.
For me, it's not so much about the 2-brow ban, it's what you haven't banned. So Azami's on the board, for example, right? So things
Same as
like
last
that.
map.
Yeah.
Like the big three, yeah.
So either way, I mean, the Solace does get banned out this time around, though. I think it was in play for Nighthaven Labs. Again, Fury starting out defensively. Looks as if they're going to be heading towards Master Bedroom and Office to begin with. I think for me, onus is on them. I need to see Fury start well here, especially defensively. And from what we've seen, defense is prevailing very much at this event, irregardless of what the map actually is, and maybe what the map historically has been like. When we think of Chalet, at least in the APAC region, certainly very attacker-sided in nature, but I think defense has to prevail here for Fury in the first half if they're going to have any chance of sending us to border.
Oh, we prepare ourselves then for map number 2, and if you're just joining, Falcons taking Fury's pick of Labs in the end, I believe 7-5. Bit of a hectic start. Falcons dictated the pace. That was the key storyline for me throughout that map, is that Falcons came out of the gate so strong and made it difficult for Fury to play catch Falcons on attack. We'll see if they can do the same on a map which traditionally Chalet can definitely facilitate that if you're feeling hot.
One thing I will say, though, again, yesterday's result, take it very much with a large grain of salt. It's one attack round yesterday on Labs, unironically. Plus, they got 7-0 on border. And as we just saw on the other Labs with the full roster, again, kind of struggled a little bit on the attack. So something to kind of keep in mind here, first half for Falcons. If they get on a roll, if they get the first couple of rounds here on attack of Chalet, they will be putting a big chunk of work into this map already to begin with. So very much a bit of a free hit, if you will, in this opening half for them. Fury need to get the job done and set themselves up for a second half. E1D goes out by 0 kills as Clips with the Rotero. Looking to clear pathway in towards Piano. Again, it's Bedroom and Office for this opening round.
Lurk here from P9 through basement. There's an extension down to the first floor through dining and kitchen from Fury, and that's something that he may look to contest. It's Dark holding it currently. Of course, he can load up goo mines to help protect his position. Perhaps doesn't really need much help from the team. He'll be very self-sufficient. Elsewhere over towards Office Wall now, Salma's to come through. No impacts close by, so that cannot be disrupted by the defense. And BG Man will relocate to half wall. J-Led falls, like Cole's aggressive towards that double window position. Hectic elsewhere. So 4 versus 4. BG Man not pressured, so he'll hold. A lot of information available on those Valkyrie cameras.
Yeah, I mean, technically 4v3 until P9 gets brought back up, and will now be permanently 4v3, though, with the elimination of Quibs. PG Man very fortunate to stay alive there at the half wall. 45 seconds remaining. Fury starting strong here on Chalet. BG Man full white, doesn't turn away. Nice swing from I9 outside piano window, and that is a second as well to follow up down the hallway. 2 versus 1 moment now for Fury, and they convert. Pistol in hand for I9. That's a much better start for Chalet, winning these contact fights. Very strong, looking for trades, good positioning. They were able to keep control of Piano despite a bit of that pressure.
And again, you contrast what we're seeing and what we're hearing from Fury compared to round one or, the first few rounds of Labs. It's a completely different story. And again, just reaffirms that they're very much a momentum-based team or vibes team, right? When they're doing well, things are great. They can build that confidence. And so getting off to a good start for them does definitely mean a lot.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think also for Falcons as well, we kind of saw by the back end of Nighthaven Labs maybe some less good vibes as well from them. That's a really nice swing from I9. Had the new jammer, so clearly not droned out. I9 very much enjoying that play, as you can clearly see there by the replay cam of his player cam. And we do go straight down to the basement.
10 seconds
No
left.
tuber out available, banned out by Falcons. When you kind of look at their bans, realistically, the also tuber ban has left so much on the table, both for attack and defense here in this particular Chalet. Whereas the Dockerby and the Solus are far more practical from Fury. Curious to see how they're going to play this, though, and how extensive any kind of roam will be when you look at the lineup, bringing that Mirror, bringing, obviously, the Maestro as well. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing probably Fury spend a lot more of their time in towards the basement, maybe look to protect Wine and obviously Snow itself, and we'll see whether or not that will be the case. I9 just still sitting over towards that metal shelf. I believe it's BG Man over towards Barstock.
Very early Nitro there from Dark. Trying to pluck P9 on the Ash. O-Kills, though, does fall elsewhere, so advantage Fury. Looking to contest Crit J, who once again has gone for a roam. This one, though, perhaps a little less fortified than round number one. P9 has info. Should be a relatively straightforward pinch, but from behind, the reaction too slow. The trade doesn't land. So good damage done.
Can he get out of here alive, though? This is the biggest thing. Damage done, yes, but as you can see, kind of just trapped in towards the closet now. J-Lad on the rappel.
Play time. Force them to you.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best play at this point, because if he tries to make the run out, I think he dies. There's a lot of eyes on that angle. If he kind of just sits there for so long, I mean, yeah, Falcons are just going to have to kind of ignore him now and kind of rotate off. 90 seconds left. I think the biggest thing, especially with basement here on Chalet, yeah, you want to get a couple of those kills, be aggressive. But don't let them get this back now to 3v3. Very important that they can sort of maintain this. Plus, if he kind of just stays in towards closet long enough, then he can actually play that sort of back flank as well later in the round. It can be so strong here on basement. Main bridge getting opened up. Thatcher again still in play. J-Lad with the EMP grenade makes it easy for the extra thermic to go off. Does actually lose his life, and then there is BG Man again. Big kill onto Mad Skills, 4 versus 1. This one's done.
Oh, I thought the Nitro maybe would signify the end of the round, but we'll just extend for a little while longer, 40 seconds.
Doesn't have kit.
Not much hope. Up close BG with shotgun. Should be a simple swing. Not quite.
I mean, Quintus just makes the run through there, anticipating someone sitting on the diffuser. And then eventually BG Man just swings with the SMG-11. Okay, very nice start here from Fury. Far more clinical than what we saw from them in Nighthaven Labs.
And again, it does have parallels to map number one, where now it's Fury who have started off well by dictating terms defensively. They're playing a lot of positions and sort of drawing Falcons into, making plays and clearing them, and they haven't been particularly effective, right? You look at this Crit J roam where he just sideswipes one, then he plays in closet, able to flank and find a second, and he just sits there and forces Falcons then to rotate off and completely ignore him in the 3 versus 5. And they couldn't produce, the ability to put anyone on an island from Fury and actually then capitalize upon it. So a bit frustrating for Falcons, and you can see that coming through already.
I mean, unironically, the way that so far the first 2 maps have played out, one of course concluded, one still in its infancy, it's kind of looking like we probably should have reversed things in terms of who picked what. Certainly more clinical display from Fury here on Chalet than what we got from Nighthaven Labs. Early start though, early days. Now over to Kitchen and Dining for the 3rd round here, looking to go and do the World Tour.
5 seconds to go.
Although World Tour probably a little bit more impossible on Chalet, considering honestly you can play all 4 sites. Bar Games, of course, not being utilized yet, and not now either.
An intriguing round here for Falcons. Are they able to start correcting course, or will Fury be able to play disrupt? Again, extension-based defense up above, not too unexpected. Falcons with the tools to try and help flush out these positions with the Ying and the bees from their skills.
4 Nitro cells for Fury is an extensive amount as well. White flashes in towards the hallway, and J-Lad just straight in through Piano and in the back of the head like Cola scopes a couple of boards. He had no idea. J-Lad just so aggressive here. Can actually even play off of the bridge. Oh, Crit J, double kill, regains control of Piano. Might just about salvage this round. On the rappel now, and pressure in towards Solar for the remaining 2 members of Falcons as they go hunting for Crit J, who's made his way out of there. Good angles in towards Trophy. Crit J makes contact with O-Kills, throws out a Candela, a desperate one at that, and needs to make a big play. Another one, and last one, thrown out. Spots one, maybe over towards top Trophy stairs. But O-Kills is just feeling the pressure. Oh, big shot back onto Crit J. And suddenly the round's still alive, but a lot of work to still be done from O-Kills. Can he create an environment where he can hunt down and find 2 1 versus 1s against I9 and BG Man?
Tall order spotted on the default camera. The black eye as well from the Valkyrie. Barricade standing in his way. Foot height, line of sight as well. Barbed wire. The list continues here of things that are working against this clutch attempt. Time perhaps the only positive here for O-Kills.
Yeah, but still quite difficult to rotate from this position.
Attackers drop the diffuser.
Once you kind of make your presence over towards Dining, takes too much time to really go for a bit of a rotate elsewhere. And in the end, you're making so much noise, makes it quite comfortable, I think, for Fury to close that out. Okay, 3-0 start for Fury here on Chalet. Not only that, but it's actually forced a tactical timeout from Falcons already, who feel as if they can't really make much happen to begin with here.
And you can see, of course, the coach of Falcons, Twister, really getting eye level with the team and trying to draw their attention. Clearly, he's identified a couple of issues with how these attacks have been shaping up so far. And I think he'll probably be a little bit disappointed in the team's ability to isolate defenders and actually, create the environment in which they can find picks and find an advantage. They've been playing from behind for the first 3 rounds.
Yeah.
But the beauty of, of Siege and that attacking half, after the first 3 rounds, you get that second opportunity if things haven't gone your way. And even on a map like Chalet, I think if they can scrap together, obviously they need at least 2. I think that's probably going to be the bare minimum. But if they can convert all 3, then they're in an okay spot. Equally for Fury, it's just about continuing this at the moment. They haven't really done a whole lot wrong, and there's not really any cause for concern.
I think they've been good on Rome. I think they've been also really good on site. They're obviously hitting their shots. BG Man with 4 kills, I9's got 5, Crit J's got 4. So you're also getting that kind of spread of kills throughout multiple different members of Fury. If it's like kind of 1 or 2 and they lose their life early, opens up a bit of a hole in terms of the defense. And kind of like I mentioned at the start of that last round in terms of doing the World Tour, well, now they actually are going for the full-blown extended World Tour. 4 rounds in. Bedroom and office has opened back up again, but they opt to now go to bar games instead. And a full-blown attacker repick now from the Falcons in response to this.
5 seconds remaining.
Interesting they bring the Ram.
Yeah,
Attackers are heading out.
Can't say we see that too often in terms of bar games.
Yeah, it definitely stood out to me as an intriguing pick for this particular objective. We'll see where they can try to leverage those big auto breaches to create some lines of sight. I mean, they could even try and use them to clear utility, although I don't know that would be the most effective usage of the drones. We'll wait and see. They don't have, obviously, a ton of projectiles, but they do have the Roteros from Flores and J-Lad. That can help clear the mezzanine shield. And any potential PV barriers for like the stairs. Early engagement damage traded. Cribs taken low on Nomad, down to 50. P9 aggressive, F not mine will just cloud
Can't see
vision, but no one's able to find the kill eventually. Dark spots him, takes him down. Good trade. 3 versus 3, 60 seconds into the round.
Guys, there's 2 minutes left. Slow it down a little bit, okay? The pacing's all over the place. Mad skill straight up flying his stairs, but keep a barrier now on the flip side of it. What am I watching in this 4th round? Crit J on the hallway side behind the keeper barrier, killing an attacker coming up library with 2 minutes on the clock.
Roll reversal.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah, this has been a weird round.
Falcons had an advantage. Now Fury's got the advantage. Still 90 seconds left.
I'm changing
I
back.
haven't quite, obviously, with all the chaos going on, got to see where those Boogie Auto breaches were utilized. I don't know.
Thinking the exact same thing. I'm assuming they were just tossed in the double window.
Okay, yeah. Over towards library, open up, put pressure. But the thing is, though, you're putting... I don't know what you're trying to open up because no one's actually going to be playing inside of games anyway.
I guess sound coverage as well for the push. It's not the worst idea. I think just the execution was a little bit unfortunate. Minute to go, though. But again, with Fender up and 2 keepers in the pocket of Crit J, it's not looking good.
Saw the lurk from Creeps going up towards West Main. Looking for that northern side push. Very slowly and very quietly, kind of utilizing that time. The clock, of course, that was very much banked up after the very early and aggressive push from Falcons. Time still remained. Something that at least they had on their sides. Nice kill there from O-Kills. Almost got traded, didn't quite come through. Now makes this a little interesting. 30 seconds left in a 2 versus 2. Kid very much available to get picked up straight through the wall, though. Crit J so strong. 7-0 to begin with. O-Kills drop down to the floor, trying to just pick up the kit. Doesn't get it. There's an 8th kill now for Crit J. And a bit of a flex in the excitement from I9. And it's a 4-0 start for Fury. What a turnaround from Nighthaven Labs. If we were critical, if we sounded maybe even overly critical back on that opening map, well, they get all the plaudits here on Chalet because they've looked really strong. And even off the back of that timeout from Falcons.
Yeah, I think that's probably the key thing, right? We've seen that, you know, over the course of the last few years that, you know, tactical timeouts can have such an influential impact. Some coaches more than others, but I think Twister especially is such an incredible leadership figure on the team that you would expect that conversion rate to be quite strong post-time out. So big from Fury. Here's a replay of that vault from Crit J. That was insane. 5 mad kills there on Mad. Probably I'm flicking the mic up just so that I don't piss the rest of the team off by complaining, because that would have been so annoying. Crit J's had a couple of really big moments on this map where he's just, you know, been in a weird position or whatever, in an aggressive position, being the aggressor. Got an, you know, a nice 2 or 3K, and it's been a big difference maker in the rounds. So then they got 6 kills, but those 6 kills have been quite impactful.
Love that little photo there as well for I9. I'm assuming soon to be father.
I believe I saw on X or Twitter that he did get married not too long ago. I'm not entirely sure about the law on I9's life, but yeah, congratulations.
Not that privy, but yes. Well, it's been a perfect start here on Chalet. Second map of this series. Falcons already winning out 7-5 back on Nighthaven Labs. Border beckons at current, but as was the case back on Nighthaven Labs when Falcons started 4-0, again on the defense, we kind of have to bring the same story here to now Chalet. Defense has prevailed. It's king at SI24. Nijama gets rid of the first claymore, not the second. Quibbs learns from his earlier mistake. And it does still mean for Falcons, you know, you go and get 1 attacking ground here in the 5th round, opens things up, probably only need the 2. The terrorist now for Mad Skills to see what he could find. Drops down in from the box in towards bar, and not really finding a whole lot. And he'll just take a bit of floor damage. Gets at least something from that Rotero.
It's Crit J again, an impact kill. He continues to deliver in this first half in what feels like a must-win round for Falcons if they want all 4 points in this series with a clean 2-0 victory. Without the next round, or 2, the chances of being able to convert Chalet dwindle. Wall a point of focus, and it will now be opened up. Double Selma. Again, no impact trick potential here from Fury. Double stack on half wall, and the angle being watched from Piano. Nitro ripped. Patience from BG, man. Probably could have lobbed and found a pick, and doesn't. Nag kills. We'll find his P9 aggressive through. Piano just walks into hell on earth.
They're just not clearing these positions out, though. And you can kind of just see from that POV the run through. So you're running, your gun's not out. Good position still for Fury because they hadn't been cleaned out, and for Falcons, rightfully so, Quib stuck out on the balcony. Not really in the best of positions. They haven't been able to put pressure on half wall. Double stacked, one watching K9 as well. 30 seconds left, and this, well, is starting to look very bad for the Falcons because 5-9 is now looming. Sorry, 5-0, I should say. Too many nines in this server with P9 and I9.
P9, I9.
15 seconds to go.
Whatever the hell 5-9 is.
10 seconds to go.
Although, funny things have happened. Quibs makes it a 1v2, but yeah, time was obviously relevant, and Dark was still in a good position behind the keeper barrier of Piano. Gets the double kill to close out after the vault in and then the push through from the hallway. 5-0 from Fury. So dominant here on Chalet, and a stark difference to what we saw in the opening map of Nighthaven Labs.
I mean, we talked a little bit about maybe the...
Just stared at the camera and smiled. He was like, yep.
We talked a little bit about perhaps maybe the stamina here for Falcons, given the circumstances for the majority of the team being far from optimal in terms of, you know, recent travel. Maybe that tank is already starting to run on empty because they don't have that same energy inside or even outside of the serve that we saw on map 1. And again, you're attacking into this kind of meta. It is challenging, but especially given what we saw on map 1, I definitely suspected that they'd be more competitive. 5 straight though for Fury. You know, had a look in the mirror after the first map and said it's time to tighten up. Now edging towards a potential flawless half here on Chalet defense. Challenging task, but Fury might be able to get it across the line.
Was coach Mad Duck Ranger looking very happy behind the boys with what he's seeing here on Chalet.
Is to defuse a bomb.
Yeah, again, I'm going to have to... I'm very tempted to just double-check the map vetoes that we've gotten this the right way, guys, because from what we've seen here, it almost feels like it should just be flipped. It should just be reversed, but no, Falcons did pick Chalet, and yes, Fury did pick Labs. And yes, the results have played out such as this. In through Mud for Mad. But it's just been so dominant. Jay, I think, is very much aware that Mad made his way into Mud. Little warning shot towards the doorway. Good signs for Fury heading into Border. By the way, a map in which Falcons played yesterday. Again, all black with the substitutes, but got 7-0'd by Lost 1. On our decided map of Border. Goomine gets shot out from Mad Skills. Map launcher helping him make the entry point towards Library. Now P9 gets involved as well on the Jackal. In through Bar. Just find some footprints here. It's a northern side defensive hole for Fury over towards also the Solar side here, defending kitchen and dining from up above. Very stock standard default.
Exothermic then on the office wall, and that will be opened up unimpeded. Down below as well, the rotation to come through, the Thatcher EMP to follow up, and that's a 2 from 2 conversion from the Thermite. Minute 20 on the clock, so the timestamp not bad. BG man inside of Solar, keeper barriers to protect his position against the upside down repel. We'll see if Falcons can connect the dots at the moment. They've got a lot of moving pieces. They've done decent groundwork with hard breach. Can they put these defenders into favorable positions? Was the shoulder spotted? I'm not too sure. Dark peaks nonetheless and survives. Bit of a stalemate between these two at the moment.
Yeah, but the longer the stalemate progresses, the better for Fury being on defense 5v5. Falcons then have to rush, try and overload positions. Might not have the numbers. Again, kitchen and dining. So you want that vert. They haven't quite been able to get it, so they might just go for more of a horizontal push, and that's going to be quite difficult. Smokes to 8 them potentially in a plant. Couple now dropping down there, though, goes like colas after the drop from the hatch. Crit still above, could go for a vault, try and keep some pressure on. Plant gets the Knight initially on Quivs. P9 now knocked down. 4 versus 2 for the Falcons. Admittedly, more so 3 versus 2. Obviously, with P9 on the floor, and only 17 seconds. That's the biggest and most important factor. Crit dropped down. There was a play to his left-hand side. Still gets the kill anyway. Probably shouldn't have been able to get that. Quiv's a bit slow with the pistol. 2 versus 1. Plant going down. 7 seconds. Gonna get denied by BG Man. No, not so necessarily towards Trophy. One just tucked in towards Harry Potter, and that is going to be an opening round win for Falcons in the final round of the half.
Finally did it.
They got there on
It's not every day of the week you see an opening round win in round number 6, but they chipped away, they grinded away, they finally got their result. Gives them a buffer. Will that be impactful in the context of the map in its entirety?
Well, same scoreline than what we saw over on Nighthaven Labs when Fury were down 5-1, or they were down 1-5 in favor of the Falcons, and then started to bring it back. So just gives them really the kind of lifeline required, I think, going into the second half, where getting that round at least puts them on the board 1, so that's good in terms of you know, the confidence. Okay, we're not going to get 7-0. That's now no longer a possibility. But more or less now, going onto the defense with the Falcons, it's like, okay, well, we can probably get 5 rounds. If they can get 5 rounds, we certainly can, and we kind of saw that back on Nighthaven Labs from Fury's side of things. But the one thing I'll say is, even in this 1 round win, in contrast to Nighthaven Labs, scrappy from Falcons. I thought a lot of the round wins that they had back on Nighthaven Labs had more sort of clinical nature from them, whereas this was, yeah, still quite scrappy. Comes down to some final key moments. And they head to basement to begin with, immediately off the bat here from Falcons.
Monty in response from Fury, an attacker repick onto Gridlock as well. So this might be some kind of preset play they have planned. A 3-stack spawn west side as well. So maybe a focus towards main garage. Through west main, look to go pretty direct through blind cellar as well. Of course, the strength of that being that we're retaking back through west main as a defender and looking to regain control can be really quite challenging. Even with the hatch opened or pressure from the staircase, it's still tough. Early initial drone here from Dark indicates that it's quite clear, so we'll see if they can play off that. Track Stingers thrown through double window. Don't know exactly where those landed. Perhaps it went through the hatch, but I might be overanalyzing that one. No kill falls back on the Fenrir. He'll be able to get some information on those F-Not gadgets rather, that are staggered around. Chalet on a flank though. If he falls, especially on the Azami, this could prove costly, but equally, if he can find a kill or 2, it could be big.
Yeah, Dark watching, he's got given that role, keeping an eye over towards Trophy Stairs, anticipating a potential push. Plus, ironically, there's barbed wire here.
Stay close to me.
And then shot at anyway. Yeah, Dad, J-Lad, that was a very awkward lurk all around, especially with the barbed wire there. Originally placed by O-Kills. Made it even harder for him to kind of get into a good position where he could make that flank really work. Not just in hand from P9. Bridge in towards Wine. Big focus because of the Montang. Nitroshot's going to miss. We can clearly see that. Montang blocking the doorway, and good control here for Fury. I like what they've been able to achieve so far in this round. 60 seconds to go. Now it's all about just the execution in towards site.
Well, the wall looking to be opened up. Like Colas, able though to survive, and the exothermic will detonate. Crit J again, big kill. As Quib's looking to hold in this pillar position.
I can't deal with the Monty.
Overwhelmed. Can't even find that one in the end. It's flawless from Fury. A great way to start off their attacking campaign.
Really well played from an I9. You know, playing the Montang, playing any kind of shield operator, you've got to have so much discipline. He does his role there perfectly. Blocks the doorway, makes it so they can get the breach in towards Wine, then rotates over towards Boiler, does the same thing again. He's ready to push through. They open up the breach. And they just couldn't really deal with the fact that he was in their face, the fact that they were also able to get J-Lad. I mean, that roam, I thought, was a big win condition. He gets completely stopped over towards Solar. again, ironically, the defensive barbed wire kind of blocking that push-down trophy stairs, and then loses the player on the rappel. Opened up good sight lines, and Wine can be quite susceptible if you don't have any kind of pressure coming in from, I think, West Main stairs to try and put pressure on those in the hallway. And they probably wanted that to be Chalet. I don't know why, he's on the Azami, but he was the one going for that roam. 6-1 scoreline for Fury, and Falcons have just looked at sea here on Chalet.
Falcons under siege at the moment. It's been a rough map for them thus far.
10 seconds to insertion.
And again, we're talking about how it was sort of
5 seconds
echoing
to go.
a similar storyline to map 1. The key finale to that
Attackers
was that the
objective
team that
is
eventually lost
defuse the
still
bomb.
put up a good final stand.
Yeah.
There's every world in which Fury here wins 7-1. And I tell you
Fury
what, that blows it wide open for map number 3.
Fury were getting better, really, as Night Heaven Labs kind of went on. Falcons also were probably getting a little bit worse as the map went on, and I think that has almost probably translated into Chalet to full effect. I mean, really difficult to probably provide some kind of hope for Falcons here, because they haven't really given us a whole lot to suggest that they could actually go and win the next 5 rounds in a row. Defense Chalet.
I'm reloading.
Regardless of the state of SI at the moment, it's still going to be a map that attackers can certainly get a lot from, as we've evidently seen here even now from Fury. And it's not even like, I mean, Fury hasn't even put up like massive numbers. Like Ola's 3 kills, BG Man 5, Dark 5. Obviously, Crit J's been sensational along with I9. Crit J continuing that effort here.
Ooh.
Nice little shot there from Quips onto said player in Crit J. Trade comes through. Good chimney control over towards the mezzanine as well for the Falcons. Chalet has had a stinker though, 1 and 8, not involved at all. I know, keeping pressure on now from Big Window to try and get this mezzanine position. Quips will fall. Even despite still having that shield up on the ward, and he is down. Will Fury be aware of that? And even if so, can they convert? Either way, it's difficult to get Quips back up. Okay, that was a little bit strange. BG Man with a very sly vault in. Had the kit. Dark is there, though, for the remonstration. The ping, and I9 still hasn't been able to confirm Quips. And there's P9 as well on the floor. This is it. We're done. There you go. We're going to go to border. Fury absolutely decimating Falcons here on Chalet. An incredibly one-sided affair. And the hope of APAC just rises a little bit with these guys getting a massive map win.
Siege is a funny game, Jake. I cannot believe we have seen that response, especially to that scale from Fury, only dropping a single round and silencing a charging Falcons.
Welcome back to SI, day 2, where we just saw Fury take off Falcons' map pick, but this time around it was genuinely a dominant fashion from start to finish.
Fury have picked up their first win, or map win, should I say, here inside of the series, leveling us up at 1 map apiece. And we are now moving into our 3rd and final map. They played well then, Lag.
Yes, no, they looked extremely better than what we saw on Nighthaven. I can't say that they won all those rounds that they were given to them. They definitely took that reset after that map, came together, decided what they needed to do, figured out what they needed to implement for the rounds, for the game itself, and they looked dominant.
Yeah, and it was scary as well, because something that we touched upon, particularly when it comes to Falcons, was that it didn't feel like on that first map, even they were adapting when they needed to, and that was shown even worse so on this time around.
It honestly looked like Falcons didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
It was a bit scary at times because you were looking at these players, you're looking at the position that some of them were holding. I don't know if they were too scared, I don't know if they just didn't have the intel, but there was something there that was just like, these guys haven't got the go in them at the moment. Obviously, circumstances, let's take that into account. You can say that these guys are going to be tired and stuff, but they still need to play with a little bit more aggression, you know?
I mean, one thing that I noticed too is we're talking about, I mean, you just even look at the stat line.
7-1,
That's
man.
not even, yeah, I mean, you gotta, at least the silver lining of this, at least they won the first map.
It hurts.
So you just gotta push that to the side. But back to what I was saying, yeah, I mean, they look very discombobulated that entire time throughout the maps, whether it was the trades, whether it was them trying to figure out what they needed to do. Typically, I can watch a game and see when a call out is made or kind of see what the thought process is there. But at least from the spectating that I was watching there, every time I watched something happen, whether it was a kill or a trade that happened, they just didn't look like they know what they wanted to do next.
Yeah, and it's also on the side of Falcons, when we were looking at that first game, they had individual players who were doing really well, popping off, getting these clutch moments. Again, not necessarily the case this time around. And Fury as well, having this win, that winning moment when they realize like they've actually closed out this map pick and they can go all the way onto that decider, which will go to be border, they were ecstatic.
Well, even then, the hypeness instantly died out, though. Like, they were clearly intense about this, but like throughout, we didn't hear them once throughout all these wins. The only time we ever heard them get super ecstatic was when they closed out the match, and even then, that died out. It was a quick, woo, hug. All right, back to being serious.
All right.
I don't want to blow out people's ears or your guys' ears. You know? I could have got a little more hype. I could have got a little more.
I was going to say, they definitely got a bit more hype, but again, it brings a lot of questions in terms of Falcons having that mental reset as well, Ollie, going into that next map, because 7-1 is not an easy thing. I mean, it's better than 7-0, but it's still a 7-1.
Yeah, I think they've really got to just try and forget about this. There was a couple of people on the side of Fury, particularly CritJ. This is basically going to be a montage of his right now. He could just clip it and ship it as is. He wouldn't even need to edit the thing. The guy was popping off. He was doing fantastically well, proving himself an absolute nightmare. Literally, back-to-back kills have all been his here, and you can just see why. You know, the positions that he's holding, he's playing on the Azami. He was really causing a lot of problems for Falcons.
Just hitting some crit shots, if you know.
Okay.
But I mean, even with that itself, I mean, for Falcons specifically, I mean, that other game easily could have been a 7-0, 7-1. Like you said, they did give out away some rounds. So I think it is easy for both these teams to hit that mental reset going into this third map. Obviously, Fury coming off the high note here. But again, for Falcons, they did have a strong showing at the beginning of the game. They did throw some rounds. But going into this last match, again, it now being Border, Twister already said this is going to be a brand new team. We have been seeing a brand new team. Sure, we didn't see that on Chalet. So I can only hope now going back into Border, we will see a completely different Border than from what we saw yesterday.
I think the thing that impressed me there about Fury is that it was very similar results, very similar games, really, Nighthaven Labs and Chalet. But Fury didn't make many mistakes.
No.
Like, we could have seen this scoreline, as you say, from Falcons 7-1, 7-0 on Nighthaven, but we didn't because they made a boatload of mistakes. Fury's mistakes were few and far between. They played really well. They played the game in front of them fantastically.
Yeah, and also a reminder in terms of the map, Fido, we'll bring that up as well, just to give you guys an insight, and that the fact we're going to be looking at Border. And that is going to be that decider in regards to where we're going to be going next, who is going to be winning the series, and who will be able to get that extra point on their table in the groups, because Falcons in their group right now, they're 0-1.
Yes.
Fury, this is their first game.
I mean, I would just like to say for both teams, they're both showing very strong resilience right now, especially one coming from Falcons, coming off of swapping rosters, bringing in 2 players after a 20-hour flight. That's already a feat in itself. And now Fury, you know, the first map didn't go great, wasn't as hot as they wanted it to be, but then immediately bounced back. So both these teams are extremely resilient. And this map, I can't really decide who runs away with that.
It's a difficult one, indeed, but I also think, again, looking at that first map, Ollie, you also mentioning that a couple of the rounds that Fury was able to get were because they were giving these rounds.
Yes.
And Fury was never giving Falcon the space and never giving them the mistake. So if they bring that same on border, on top of the fact that the Falcons' communication has been a little bit lower,
it could be very dangerous right now. If Fury have found this run of form and they've gone, well, we made a lot of mistakes on the first map, we need to get ourselves in check. They've done it there on Chalet. They were much more disciplined. There were a lot of trades coming out. They were fantastic in the opening pick. They did a great job at targeting players like J-Lad, who you're expecting to get that opening pick over on the side of Falcons. If they continue that now onto Border, we know Border is our chaotic map, right? It is the map that you really don't want as a decider in a best of 3 because it can be nuts.
Yeah, and my question, I guess, that prep that they had originally going into Nighthaven with Fury, is that now prep going to be the same for Border? Because if that's going to be the same result, that's not going to look too good.
yeah, but also we can then use this second map as potentially a wake-up call for Falcons in terms of, like, you cannot just play how you want to play it and not be expected to get punished. You need to adapt, you need to calm, you need to get those basics right, and a map like Border would be perfect for that.
We know that Falcons are good on Border. We know it's a map that they like to play, so I'm expecting them to come out here and to really show us something. They don't need to reinvent the wheel, they just need to start with those fundamentals, because the fundamentals were certainly lacking on Chalet. Flip that around to the other side, and you ask what Fury maybe need to do to continue. I mean, if Crit can continue what he's doing, fantastic. You can't count on a hero play every single game, though.
Well, I mean, going into the last map, everyone needs to be showing up. You've had your 2 games to maybe take a breather, maybe not perform as hot, but if you want to come out here, everyone needs to be firing on all cylinders here. You can't be slacking, or at least if you aren't having the pop-off game, at least providing the intel, the trades where you can, just like you were saying, getting those fundamentals down coming into this last match.
One of the last times that I can see that Falcons played Border was actually against GK. So another team that we have here at R6 Invitational. It didn't go too well. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but it didn't.
It's okay, one of us has to be.
It didn't go too well. Obviously, it's a fairly old result. I've kind of had to dig a little bit for it, but of recent, they haven't got the best results here on this map. They're still yet trying to find a win since Atlanta. So again, throw that into the mix with the circumstances, with the way that they've been playing tonight so far, which has been very hit or miss. I'm not trying to switch sides here. I mean, I was never really on a side to begin with. I think everyone knew coming into this that, you know, for me, you've got to give Falcons the benefit of the doubt. They're not at their full strength, but we know that they're a talented roster. I'm really starting to sit on that fence right now.
Okay, I think as well coming into this here, particularly from your side, Lax, from a player perspective, a 7-1 is not an easy loss to digest because it's not a 7-0, but it is unfortunately a fluke on your record.
Yeah, in some situations, it is important to have that happen to you because it really makes you self-reflect and identify where the things are going wrong. But at that same time, if you can't do that and you're a mental team, that if you just feel like you guys just got absolutely demolished, you're not really trying to fix anything, that's going to be an issue. Because if you can't identify those problems, you can't understand where things went wrong, whether it was communication, whether it was just misplay, whether it was just moving around too much, that is going to be a hindrance going into the next game.
And from your, as an outsider looking in here, Ollie, when you're potentially looking at what went wrong for Falcons in that second map, do you think it's communication? Do you think it's deeper than that? Do you think it's just sheer exhaustion? I
think it's a combination of a few things, right? We were sat in here while Twister took the timeout, and it was quite an early timeout. It wasn't effective. Twister historically has been a very effective coach at the timeouts, and he's fantastic at guiding players into what he wants them to do and into what he thinks is going to be the best thing to do. But those timeouts didn't work. He called for rushes. We heard that. We didn't see rushes off the back of it. So maybe a step back, maybe listen to the coach, give yourself a little bit more confidence and see what happens with it.
I mean, you can't really force your players to sit there and listen to you, but I do think as well, like sometimes in these high stress environments, it is a little bit more difficult to, you know, really zone in and cancel out the outside noise.
We've had some listenings before, and we've heard what these coaches can say. Like we've got a coach or an ex-coach, should I say, that's now in the talent team, and he gave a pretty scathing timeout last SI.
And Twister is no slouch. I mean, he has tons of history and tons of background. Like for them to have him behind all of them is it's drastic for their performance. I mean, he is feeding them so much information in terms of what he was telling both of us, of making calls, trying to get them back on the right set, and they weren't listening. That really comes down to a communication thing. And that's not only if you're not listening to the coach, that just makes me question, are you listening to your IGL? Are you listening to the teammate right next to you if you're in a 2v2 situation? You need to have that communication.
Yeah, but I also want to highlight Fury here because I do think we've talked a lot in terms of Falcons and what we think went wrong and what potentially has not been hitting the mark. But then you're looking at a team like Fury, you've already touched upon it a little bit, Ollie. They were really good at punishing the mistakes on that first map. But then you're coming onto the second map and it's a 7-1. So many things went right for them, and it felt like every single time Falcons would try to spice it up a little bit, they were able to see right through them.
Sometimes for me, personally, I gotta have my back against the wall because you can't afford to lose at that point. So it makes everything just heightened. All of your performance, your aim, your communication just starts making everything on point because you don't want to lose. And I think maybe we saw a little bit of that from Fury because that was literally a night and day difference team if we were comparing Nighthaven to that last match.
Also, to put it in the balance of things, they started off on the defense. Currently, throughout SI, throughout the games that we've seen played so far on day 2, 61% of the rounds have gone onto the defensive side on Chalet. So you're going to expect them to come away with a lion's share of the rounds there. They did exactly that.
You can say that, but look at some of the most recent games, like the W7M games or the just most recent Sonics and Los. Like one team was running away with it, then they switched sides. So it's like, it's not to say that Falcons couldn't have done that.
Yeah. They
didn't capitalize on it. So Fear's just doing a good job of keeping that momentum and punishing that.
Yeah, also Fury, we're looking at their cams right now. The coach is in high spirit. The players are in high spirit, whereas Falcons currently dealing with a little bit of a tech issue, so that hence the delay. Guys, thank you so much for hanging on. The high spirit, the motivation, the absolute pride as well, so to say, from a team like Fury in their group, potentially even counted out as one of the teams to be going home after the group stage, but they're making their debut here on the international stage so much more remarkable.
I mean, you shouldn't count anyone here at SI. You should try to give everyone the same amount of respect because you are here at SI. This is the most prestigious event, which means you would have had to literally work your ass off to get to this point. Yeah. So Siege is a game. You can't sleep on anyone. Sure, statistically speaking or ranking speaking, you can try to look at that, but you need to give everyone the same amount of respect here, plain and simple.
And this is the exciting thing because these are two teams that would never meet under normal circumstances, right? We would see them only at an international stage because they play on, you know, not quite other sides of the world, but they play, you know, a good distance apart. They're never going to get a scrim against each other. They're never going to jump on a league against each other. And then that's what makes these things exciting. It just puts a lot of pressure on this moment, especially when you're in a map 3, especially when there's been a very back and forth game so far. We've seen a Nighthaven. We could be sat here wrapping the day up. Realistically, we could be sat here going, oh, you know what? Yep, Fury, they managed to turn it around over on Nighthaven, and they just threw away with it on Chalet. Yeah. This is now a territory that I don't think Falcons really wanted to find themselves in because of the fatigue, because of the tiredness, because of the fact that they've got a little bit of an issue now going on that we're seeing getting solved behind us. All these things just seem to be like adding another straw to the camel's back every single time.
I'll say this. I love, like, for personal experience and playing, I love getting a fast game over. I love getting a 7-1, 7-0, but I don't feel like I take a lot away from that. Sure, you might play an excellent game of Siege, or the other team just isn't doing that well, but when you play these intense games and you are being pushed to the brink, that's where it's truly rewarding when you get that actual win that solidifies and cements the match overall. All
right, I mean, it's very clear to see that the players are ready. The tech issue has been solved. Falcons want to get into that server, and honestly, so does Fury, and so do we. And game 3, the final game of the series is ready, so let's head over to our casters to cover it. Guys, take it away.
Yeah, excited for this one, Ginny. It is indeed the final map of this series and of the day as well. Fury looking to be the first APAC team to take a series here at SI24. And obviously for the Falcons, they'd love to do just about the same. And we are split when it comes to the predictions. We head to Border, a map that Falcons played yesterday. Got 7-0'd by Lost One. But as we know, they didn't have their full roster.
Yeah, Border's a really exciting prospect, right? You think about the level of aggression that both teams throughout the series, whether it be on Labs from Falcons or Chalet from Fury, that aggressive factor, and Border's a map that facilitates it. I think we're going to be in for an exciting match. Of course, Fury starting out on the attacking side on this particular occasion. Big momentum on their side after the second map, and we'll see if that rolls into Border.
Absolutely massive momentum for Fury, taking out Chalet in the fashion that they did, ultra dominant. Obviously, Falcons were very good, and I think Laxing made a point over on the desk that it probably could have also been 7-1 back on Nighthaven Labs to Falcons. They just kind of made a couple of mistakes towards the end of it. Buck taken out, and that's at least a little bit more of a sensible ban from Falcons. I wasn't necessarily a massive fan of the bans that we saw from them on Chalet, so kind of left a lot on the table and available. And again, it's the same identical bans from Fury. They get rid of the Dokkaebi, they get rid of Souls, and honestly, again, such as Chalet and now into Border, I think very solid bans when it comes to this map.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a map like Border, it's often very difficult to get into the map. So if you have good pre-play strains and you identify a weakness, you're often going to look to exploit that, get really quick control. They're attacking, of course, so it makes perfect sense to take the Souls off the board, try and employ that game plan. And it will keep Falcons on their toes in minimizing the amount of weak areas that they have around the map defensively.
Who have you got? Who have you got for this one? Final map of the day. It's been a long day.
That's a very tough question, honestly. I'm not quite sure, right? Because both teams, you know, for the most part, dominantly took their opposition's map pick. So you go to the neutral territory, it's always a tough decision. I think Fury probably showed a little bit more than Falcons, maybe just the clinical nature in which they closed out the map. So if there's a world in which it's close, I suspect Fury will probably take it in regulation, something like a 7-5.
I can probably say that, honestly, and I'm probably going to back in Fury as well, and I will also add an asterisk of some bias to that. I'd love to just see APAC at least claim a series win by the end of day 2. As we head into this one, Falcons will begin on the defense again here for the deciding map of this best of 3. A best of 3 that saw both teams take their opponent's map pick. Nighthaven Labs and then, of course, Chalet. Chalet a little bit more dominant. And one thing too, if you kind of look at the series as a whole, from start to where we currently are located, it's kind of been this big loop where Fury started really poor, but they've just continued to get better and better and better. Do they continue that same trend now heading into Border? We'll have to wait and see. They're on the attack. Could go fast here. And Lycola straight away trying to get some pressure in towards Archives.
I thought for a second there would be 30 seconds in. He'd go for the plan attempt, a little bit more subdued, but the plan actually is going down in the first 30 seconds. Lycola, though, will pull off. 2 quick kills from Falcons. And a sneaky attempt there from Fury, dismissed by the defense. Perhaps a little bit overzealous there from Fury. Down below, P9, control. Means that Lycola cannot go for the plan in the doorway, trying to win the one. An awkward engagement, to say the least.
We've seen this before when it comes to Armory and Archives, especially in the APAC region, where you kind of just go for broke, go fast. It's obviously a very strong site defensively, so you kind of want to cheese the site for attacking teams at times. They slow the pace right down, but the damage has been done. I mean, a 5 versus 3 where 2 of the players remaining are incredibly low on health. One of which is a Montang, so again, you're kind of lacking that firepower. Well, there's the Shadow. In effect, Iodine will catch P9 for the second time in the series. 4 versus 3, still time, 90 seconds. It was a very fast push towards Archives to begin this opening round. Drone placed in by Duck, EE1D available. They got Flash, a Smoke, so some kind of utility still in play for Fury to try and get themselves back into this opening round.
Yeah, they can look to maybe play off Lycola here to create a bit of space and gain some info with the shield, but it's going to be a challenge.
Oh my god.
I9 up close on the barricade. Mad Skill's in a position to immediately swing and respond. Not spotted.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser.
No kills will find his one. Dying phases of the round. Dark with 4 and 7. Almost got a second, and that would have made things intriguing. Fortunately, though, he does not. I9 in the 1v3. And Falcons, off the back of a good start, a bit of a cheese strat from the attack, will take the opening round on the defensive side.
Yeah, just as I9 looks away there, Chalet comes in over from top waiting in towards top east and gets an easy kill because he looked away at that very moment of time. Good start for Falcons, of course, really switched on in terms of the pacing there from Fury to try and hit site immediately, play into that Montang. You kind of go for the plant, turn around, little shield on the back, makes it difficult, but they had the player down below, of course, for that Nitrocell. the thing with that kind of play, you might think, well, wouldn't you want to clear down below? But if you clear down below, you lose a lot of that pacing by going for that fast push. So very difficult to do both, essentially. You kind of just bank on maybe the defense not being in the best position initially. Okill's got that early kill into Chalet anyway. And yeah, they had the nitro cells. They had 2, in fact, to kind of deal with that particular rush attempt with the Montang. By that point, then they slowed it down to 5 versus 3, but heavily wounded. But don't expect that, I think, from Fury really again. I look at that kind of play as a one and done. We've seen teams in APAC do that every now and then, and they don't look to repeat it.
No, I would be a little bit upset if they went for, you know, a similar play, you know, a quote-unquote cheese play once again. You know, those set plays can sometimes work, but yeah, they didn't have the right pieces in place really in round number 1 to pull that off. Well, Falcons, to their credit, countered it very immediately. It was very early into the round, so they were in those positions already, despite the early pacing. So good work from Falcons. And considering they only got a single round on the second map, so they've already matched that total here on the third. Fury now to be a little bit more in depth for this next round in terms of their attacking setup. The Brava Clutch drones being used to hack utility. That's a default camera in 90 taken down. Good counter, of course, to the Fenrir. Proxies as well in play.
And coupled with the Twitch, was, as we see here now, over to BG, man. So a lot of work being done by these drones for Fury, which is quite strong on a map like Border, already making things a little bit more easy for them when they go for their eventual push. Dark maybe expecting Chalet to try and make a bit of a push in that angle towards top east. That skills towards 90, goes a peek. Nothing there to be seen right now. Still good security control defensively for Falcons. Obviously going for a vert hold up above. Clutch drone again in effect here from Cryptjay. Been quite successful here on the Brava Twitch combination in the second round, but timer factor, 90 seconds. When you do play double drone, it does mean obviously you're going to be sitting around. Not getting a whole lot of that ultra map control, but Cryptjay can now go for a lurk. Again, that 90 camera did get cludged.
The pacing is really slowed down now. 70 seconds on the clock, 10 players still up. Keeper barriers, of course, replenishing over that course of time. Dark, though, can he unlock the round? The timing so awkward to flash over the top. Walks into the line of sight of the Azami. Head skills with a free kill.
Just needed more patience there. Good trade from Cryptjay, though. Maybe to unlock the round a little bit. Vert established now for Fury as Cribs will drop down in the hatch. 45 seconds, though. Time certainly biggest factor of them all here for Fury. That slow-placed, droning playstyle might come back to haunt them. Like all spots one, maybe bot metal. I9 going for a lurk. Can he get the kill? No, it's P9 again. They collide, the 2 9s. Falcons with the advantage here, deep into the second round with only 20 seconds remaining. Lycolis wants to just get himself in towards sight with that diffuser. And again now 3 versus 3 with J-Lad's demise. But again, time is not on the side for Fury. Need to get the plant down. And where's the help for Lycolis? He looks like a man on an island.
Lycolis now through front door. It needs to be perfect here from Fury. Runs into the F0, can go for the plant. Is there coverage in place here from the front door? There is. BG, man, but the plant's denied. And Falcons claim the second round.
Just too slow, unfortunately, towards the end there. I think that final kill, did it come from above? Didn't quite get to see it. We didn't get the POV, but still, well, the drone play I thought was actually quite excellent. It was from Jail, apparently. Either way, the drone play I thought at the beginning, and we saw a lot of it actually. It was really well watched in terms of the Clutch drone, in terms of the Twitch shock drones as well. I mean, I thought they got really good value. Value was there. But clearly time became a factor as the round went on. And that became the enemy for Fury. And in the end, it was really what kind of caused them to lose that one.
Yeah, you could just see here, O'Kill's able to sneak across.
Oh, look at that angle.
The LOS, yeah. Twitch unable to obviously trade that too late into the round, you know. Twitch swings there with a bit more time, finds the trade, would have made things more interesting, perhaps, but
I think if he gets that plan, I think they win the round. That's how close it really was. So I don't want to sound too critical there of Fury. I think they did some really good things. Really good things, though, don't always get you the round wins. Falcons, again, good response now from Chalet, where they looked quite poor. 7-1.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
If we get 3 dominant maps in a row, I'm going to be...
Well, I mean, the first map was a 7-5. I mean, dominant in nature, yes, but scoreline, no.
Fair point. Falcons looking tidy here, though, defensively. Fury tried to rush round 1.
They've got the same approach as well. Again, double drone through the Twitch and the Brava, but then you've got the Finker that maybe can pick up the pace in the mid round.
Yeah. They're making adjustments, trying to see if something sticks. Dark asserting control for Armory. He's gotten some decent ground. He can now be drawn forward with the clutch and good meet one, but gets slapped down. Dark should not be losing that fight, but Okil's on a bit of a heater to kick off map 3.
I will say, probably not enough time there from drone catching player to then coming, and so I don't know if Dark really had that kind of advantage that you would expect from a live drone. Okil's just times the push perfectly there on the Fenrir.
Keep it deployed.
Falcons have found another gear here in the final map of this best of 3. Ascendancy is very much in control for them. Mad Skills wants to get aggressive out through security. Doesn't actually go for the peak though, nor does he give away his position. Close by to the hatch, can go for a drop if required. Still has an impact available too. 90 seconds left here in the 3rd round. And down a player for Fury. Honestly, not the greatest amount of map control either.
Crit J will spend even more time on drones in this round. Okil's probably hears that, but will fall off. 9-9 falls. Okil's has a read up above, now hears those footsteps. It's a little bit all over the place here from Fury to kick off Border, but like Colas is able to chip at 1. Cribs are caught off guard through customs. BG Man as well, looking to just confirm control of break. But they look uncertain here, Fury, and time again will begin to dwindle down, and that will be their biggest enemy on top of the fact that they're, again, at a man disadvantage.
Yeah, similarities to that last round, aren't there? 3 versus 3, though. At least that helps out. 30 seconds, a little bit of time to play off of this. Like Colas. Just keeping the pressure on now towards site. 1 sitting down there. Mad Skills in towards Workshop. 1 still above, though, for Fury. Watching the hatch now is Mad Skills. A P9 again. Really big, impactful kill. That's Kit right in front of BG Man. There's the drop now, so they can play together in terms of BG and Crit, but they do give up the vert because of it. P9, Mad Skills, good positions here inside of the smoke and up close though. P9 just keeping full control of sight. No real time left for BG Man. It's certainly going to be a 3-0 start for Falcons. Nice little knife kill for BG Man. Pulls out the pistol, but Hyde indeed is successful for the Falcons. What a response from a Chalet where they got decimated.
Oh, got a little bit scared there with the knife duel into the 1 versus 1. Spray through wall, almost lands with the pistol in hand. But again, timing from Fury not quite there. We can see through the mid to late round, they're still confirming control of key positions, despite the drone economy actually not looking all that bad. So there's some kind of disconnect happening somewhere. You know, you've got your default drones on top of the clutch drones, Twitch as well at times. Still starved of info. And Falcons, you know, consolidated their position on site for the vast majority of that late round. There was nothing for Fury to clear. And even then, the disconnect in the 2v2 to push deep with no trade. Diffuser's still lagging behind through waiting. It's echoing what we saw on Labs, where it's just not quite connected from Fury.
Attackers recovered the diffuser.
Still an opportunity to rebound. We're only 3 rounds in, so long ways to go. I wonder if he just shot there when he ADS'd immediately with the pistol, would he have one-tapped him? Maybe. But we will never know.
Yeah, it shouldn't come down to that though, but credit to the Falcons for their rebound from Chalet to begin here on Border, especially on the defense. I mean, again, Border has those similarities to Chalet where I think attack can really thrive. But proving to be the storyline of this particular event is that irregardless of the map, it's all about defense and it's all about Chalet with the opening kill. I9 has just not been able to get going here. Not on border. 1 and 4. Of which, by the way, there's doubling down on drones and then there's tripling down by bringing Brava, Twitch, and Flores.
Oh, it's not even the quadruple, it's the, what's a 5x? I'm not mathematically inclined.
We don't really get to see it in full effect, though, of course, because I9 just got spawn peaked to begin this round. It's not looking good for Fury. To wonder if maybe there might come a time to call said timeout. Critchay, though, with a big kill onto Quibs, gets rid of the Warden. And a second to follow. Dark top east, nice kill down the hallway in towards Mad Skills, and suddenly has flipped the beginning of this 4th round in favor of Fury. Chalet, I think, maybe looking for a response, knowing full well that, of course, top east now in control of Fury. Spots the drone up above. Knows he's in a bit of a predicament. Fury with a semblance of control for what feels like maybe the first time here on border.
Okills will respond and look to try and support line of sight in through break. Spots the head. Doesn't land the shot. If Critchay comes alive, things start to look better for Fury, and that's what we're seeing here in round 4.
Yeah, that was a sentiment that was echoed on the desk as well at the conclusion of the second map, that it's the Critchay show, and he shows up now here on border, and a much-needed round win. Going into this round, I was questioning whether or not they needed a tactical timeout, but they get the job done, even without it. I won't lie, I have absolutely no idea how many attacking rounds would be required here on border. But the state of the game right now and the defensive-sided nature of this tournament, it really is a difficult one to understand how many rounds will be needed. I think you kind of just have to take it one round at a time.
Yeah, as I remember, day 1 was a bit of an outlier and border wasn't awful for attacks, so I still think for Fury here they need at least 2. They'll need to grind away for the 3rd as well to give themselves the optimal opportunity to bring this game back. But as we alluded to, some positive signs. Map control through the mid-round, they forced Falcons to rotate around, and then Critchay was there ready and waiting with open arms to collect those picks, so yeah. Good response. Clash for round number 5, though, from Falcons, an operator that we have not seen played in this match, I don't believe. We've seen the Monty, for instance, maybe even a Blitz, but definitely no Clash. Will that throw a bit of a spanner in the works here for Fury and stall any momentum that they may have gathered from the previous round?
Brava gets dropped, Grim gets picked up for Critchay. A little bit more of a dislodging effect here for Armory and Archives. Into the 5th round now for a series that really each map has seen sort of the dominant nature from both teams. I'd honestly love for this to end up being a little bit back and forth. We say the best of both worlds. Yeah, curious to see how this clash is going to have an effect as well. I was thinking maybe sort of towards the east stairs, but not to be. And obviously you don't want to extend out too far. So where's it going to be? Maybe middle?
Really intrigued
at the moment.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued about this clash, where it's going to be used, what kind of impact the Falcons are hoping to get from it. Also, as well, how do Fury respond? Do they play into it? Do they ignore it? Maybe try to exploit Armory instead. The thing is, if you're able to pluck a pick or 2 on the attacking side and put Clash on an island, her effect will be significantly weakened. Mad Skills under pressure inside of security, using keyword barriers to fortify this position. Hive launcher used to flush him out.
Oh, the timing.
Twice. Fury almost catch him, but not quite.
Yeah, those are key little moments that could come back to haunt Fury in this round. Certainly could have been up 5-3 in this particular round. Now, one thing they can take from this is the solos that they've got themselves good key positions. 9 in control, security, can put the pressure right onto the Falcons as they force them onto site. Again, a couple of shots going their way. This time, though, also a couple of shots back from Falcons onto Critchay. Gets him low. Hive launcher still in effect. Nate thrown over towards Quibs. He's able to dodge that one. Now takes a little bit of a peek. Understanding that Fury are starting to just kind of overwhelm this position. That was a strange Nitro, so I'm not sure what the information was being played off of. Obviously, the hot player just outside of the outside. Oh, nice little stand-up kill, though. BG Man opens the account in the 5th round.
Critchay again looking to aggress.
The Clash has done absolutely nothing.
Well, flawless for Fury.
Wow.
And they're really responding with some nice momentum.
Well, I mean, the clash, again, we kind of questioned it a little bit, and it was a matter of where was it going to see the play, what was it going to deny, how was it going to be impactful in the round. In the end, started like Fountain, and then kind of tried to push over towards security, maybe a bit of 90. All just, honestly, positions that really just were ineffectual. Credits to Fury, though. They looked a little bit more aggressive in their early pushes, and there was a couple of moments where the timing kind of went against them. They probably could have gotten a couple of early kills. The Grim was a really nice attack, a repick by the end of the prep phase as well. Was able to dislodge a couple of positions, got some good pings. They were able to play off of that. Solid round for Fury. After giving up the opening 3 rounds, they've been able to just fight back now 2 in a row, looking to put the pressure on the Falcons to close out this opening half. In a very, very solid position now to do just that, and it's been led by a couple of players, most notably, though, Crit J following on from his strong performance on Chalet, and BG Man as well, 7-1.
Yeah, I mean, Crit J has continued to look more and more comfortable at these international appearances. He started off at Copenhagen, 0.77 rating. He was in the middle of the team, far from ideal. Big step up, though, at Atlanta, a 1.06, so not too bad, and I'm sure at the moment he'd be at a pretty solid number. And it's not just the rating number itself or whatever. It always comes back, I think, to impact and the contextualizing of those numbers. And I know, previously throughout the series, we've really been noting that he's not just farming kills, he's not just baiting, he's actually genuinely having big impact in rounds. Here on Bordeaux, he's been a difference maker in the last couple as well. So for Falcons, it's about trying to shut him down.
Probably less so in terms of individual standouts for Falcons, and still team effort, though, has been there. Very critical 6th round, though. Can Falcons take an extended lead going into the second half, or can Fury tie things up? Talk about a little rapid response, push through 90, catching mad skills completely off guard. He had no idea, not a clue. And in that moment, just a couple of shots to the back of the head, and he is seeing darkness. And so is J-Lad. Fury have just picked up the pace. They've gone to a different level, a level that we didn't quite see in the opening couple of rounds, where they're a little bit more slow in their approach. Why were they slow in that approach? They tripled down on those drones. And while they were effective with said drones, I think the change up as well, dropping the Brava has seen some big success. They've still got the Twitch, but last round brought the Grim. This round, bring the Jackal, push in, be fast, be aggressive, get these opening kills. 4 versus 3, a response at least from Falcons. Still top metal control here for O-Kills, and maybe wants to go for a flank.
P9 under pressure as well, inside of bathroom.
Get the Jackal in the map.
I don't think Crit J is going to want to move too far too soon. If he does jump in, he's dead.
Not really talking about that entry point, though, but I think at this point he probably has no choice but to keep the pressure there. 60 seconds left. Others are going to have to do the work, and I think I envision an O-Kills lurk over towards East Stairs and could have an impact here. He is going so without being noticed. Never mind. Talk about timing. I9 just turned and watched top East just like that. And the round is done, and the half is done. At 3-3, Fury have brought it back 3 rounds in a row for the hope of APAC to find itself its first series win. It's down to Fury for today in the final match of the day against the Falcons team that are maybe starting to run out of gas a little bit.
Yeah, Border's the style of map where defensively you have to try your best to prevent entry into the map by contesting as many of those points of entry as possible. Make it really difficult for the attack, force them to, burn util and play unfavorable positions. We didn't see any of that in the last round. Fury were able to exploit those positions not being held. You think security, you think jump-ins, etc.
Yeah.
They converted it to picks. They got the advantage. They played it really, really well. Last 3 rounds from Falcons, I mean, it really fell apart from them. And again, I feel like I've used this saying multiple times throughout the match, reflecting back on previous maps in the series. It's kind of like Labs, right? Where Falcons, as the match went on, started to perhaps make more mistakes, a couple more slip-ups here or there, and didn't cost them ultimately on that occasion. But I get the feeling here on Border, things could be a little bit different. Fury defensively, if they play compact, I don't know if Falcons will be able to break it down.
Yeah. Difficult to ascertain, but one thing I do know is that we've got ourselves a close finish here for day 2 of SI of the groups. 3-3, the score line here. Both teams, of course, having won a map, winning each other's maps.
Attackers are heading
So
out
right down to the wire. to see whether or not Fury can get APAC on the border of the Falcons with their full roster now. Can find success. Otherwise, if they do lose this, I'm going to be completely honest, does this not make it very difficult for them in the groups?
It will. Again, to preface that, unfortunate circumstances for Falcons didn't have their full roster against Lost, but they have it now. Crit J, another huge kill, an insane angle.
What? I need a replay of that, like, now.
That is wild.
Okay, maybe not right now, but still at some point later on. Mad Skills top east, maybe expecting more aggression from Fury, but my goodness, they have found a dial, turned it to 10, and that is about the level of aggression they brought to the table. I9 doubling down, captures the head of Mad Skills, and suddenly Fury have found themselves a script where they are the monsters of this scenario. 5 versus 2, Falcons are basically unable to get off of the balcony.
I'm reloading.
And that's what you've got to do as defense. Do not allow them in the map. This is perfect defense from Fury. And I mean, a couple of these kills, you can't even fault the Falcons. They've just been absolutely slammed. No fault of their own. Well, maybe a little bit of fault, but not much. A lot of it going the way of Fury.
Hang on.
Wow. That's going to be 4 rounds in a row.
Well, do we see a timeout here from Falcons? And on coupled with that, I honestly think Okill should just back out of the map, take the minute-and-a-half time, and let's talk things over. Let's have a double timeout. Instead, he actually enters map. Like, it's a 1 versus 5, 90 seconds left. Just cool things down a little bit. Fury's on a heater. They've won 3 rounds in a row, and they are playing with a level of aggression that I haven't seen from them in a long while. Maybe sensing this is their moment. The blood's in the water and they smell it like sharks circling Falcons.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Yeah, diffuser recovered. O-kills. I mean, I'll give you some plaudits here. You're going for it, son, but my goodness, you've got so much work to be done. Good sprays, pressure onto I9. But these efforts surely are going to be for naught. They are.
Can't even take himself seriously. I mean, his message isn't wrong, though. To be fair, yeah, keep it rolling.
Well said, Mad Duck.
And we saw that, I mean, you can kind of see there in the late round, the aggressive setup there from Fury with walls open, lines of sight that you probably wouldn't normally see opened either, in combination with the keeper barriers. It's all those really complex factors for Falcons that would have been difficult to break down if they even had an opportunity to do so. I mean, they lose the first pick randomly at the start of the round off the shot of Crit J, and then from there it was always going to be tough to recover. Tactical timeout though. Falcons, they heard you, Jake. They'll take an opportunity to cool off and try to stall out this big mound of momentum that's been built.
You know what also is very noticeable here? Look at the look on the faces of Falcons. They look a little bit defeated. Bring it all the way back to Nighthaven Labs. They were chirpy, they were laughing, they were happy. What was Fury? They looked depressed. Massive turnaround, a full 180 for both teams respectively. But also, guys, it's only 4-3. I mean, I know you've let them win 4 rounds in a row. Well, not let them, but certainly it has happened. But it's only 4-3 overall. Can't be giving up just yet. Didn't quite get the replay of that opening kill. Would have loved to have seen the POV angle, but still, nevertheless, such a dominant round for Fury. So many sightlines, so much pressure, so much aggression. They want the fights, they want the early contact, and Mad Duck is pumped.
When does he start laughing though?
No, we cut away from that. Make it more serious. Don't look.
No. Oh, no, he couldn't hold it. He couldn't do it.
It's like for that brief moment, he just couldn't take himself seriously.
10 seconds to
4-3, Fury, 3 rounds away. Yeah, massive for the group. That's the big thing for me. Of course, Falcons losing yesterday to Lost 1. Didn't have their full roster. They had, I think, about 3 subs in from memory. Yeah, again, not ideal, but the circumstances that have now already played out can't be changed. I'm kind of looking sort of ahead. Scars and Falcons play final day. One to maybe keep an eye on. Scars and Fury, though, play tomorrow. One to keep an eye on suddenly as well. APAC v APAC. P9, though, massive kill to begin the round. This one's not done. We don't look too far ahead. Dark taken down. But he's been one of the quieter members of this Fury roster. just a 3 and 5 scoreline when you kind of look at Crit J with 9 and 2, BG Man 8 and 1, and obviously I9, formerly Napew, 6 and 4.
Reloading ammo.
I mean, there's definitely still lifelines for Falcons if they lose this series. We have, we've seen it. We saw it last year. Just had a look. Australia's had 3 series losses where they still claimed at least 1 map, and they're able to make it through with a series win of their own. But certainly increases the difficulty curve. So they need to keep fighting, and a good start. Finally, they can start to dictate terms by getting the opening duel their way. Crit J, that impact player, still up though, so they need to be mindful of that. Boogie Auto Breach is deployed by O-Kills, 1 of 3. Crit J now maybe looks to link up with BG Man, contest this push through Armory. They're playing reserved, sensing that there will be drones sent forth, and that is the case. Big opportunity for Crit J, and he capitalizes. That Monty's a long way away from Falcons at the moment, outside the east, I believe. Now top east. Maybe looking to pinch from behind. 4 versus 4 with 60 seconds on the clock.
Who's going to be the one to stand up for Falcons? Make the big power play. Gumine, double Gumine for mad skills on the Montang. Talk about a bit of a hard counter there. Triple kill in the round because it's a double from Crit J instantaneously. Was that a collat? If it wasn't, it was very close to it. And boy, doesn't that just change the complexion of this round. Now into a 4 versus 2, and Falcons on the back foot despite the opening kill to begin this 8th round. Off the back of the timeout, they are once again in disarray. Requiring big assistance from O-Kills, but he can't get involved. Shut down by I9. Down to Quibs on the Jackal. He gets tagged up. This is done. 5-3. Fury taking themselves a significant lead towards the back end of this final map in this series. Again, fist bumps and smiles in combination from Mad Duck, the coach. I think Fury just need to make sure they don't get too overexcited here. Job's not done just yet.
Yeah, don't get too far ahead of yourselves. You are an APAC team, so you're still going to close out the game.
You are from APAC. Bottling it is in your nature.
No. We say that in a joking manner, of course.
But also quite factual.
I will say it is concerning though for Falcons, right? Again, the tactical timeout doesn't convert, and they got the opening pick.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was Crit J that was the turning point of the round. I mean, almost all the things that have gone wrong for Falcons throughout the series thus far culminate in that round. And Falcons got the first 3 in this game. If you've just joined us, if you've perhaps got the memory of a goldfish and you forgot how this game started.
Yeah, maybe B stream ended and you came over to the A stream.
Yeah, you saw Bleed lose and now you want to see your Asian counterparts perhaps get a victory. Falcons had a 3-0 lead and they looked so good. And it has fallen apart thus far.
Yeah, and even prior to that, I mean, you go back to a 5-1 lead back on Nighthaven Labs, which then Fury clawed it all the way back to 7-5, eventually losing, but then dominated 7-1 Chalet, now up 5-3 here on Border. It's been a big turnaround.
Heartbeat sensor activated.
Moments away, rounds away. Falcons, though, still alive, clinging, though, to, well, a lifeline that is starting to just peter out a little bit. Haven't probably shown enough, certainly not on the attack here of Border.
So the pulse in play, and BG, I presume, has a read on all 3 of those players outside. Dark looks to aggress off that yellow ping. Perhaps a little bit unfortunate to not be rewarded with the kill. Crit J falls, that's big. Finally taken down. His little rampage put to an end.
Yeah, I think that's the most important thing as well mentally for Falcons, is that they've dealt with Crit J. Of all players, doesn't even matter what operator he's playing. It's sort of like, okay, he's not in the server now. Not only that, but we've also got the player advantage. Still 2 minutes in the round. We can get a bit of map control off this, push forward. We've got numbers. We can overload positions. But also, they're not rushing this. Not looking to overcapitalize. Let's go back to the drone game. Let's slow things down. We've got numbers, but also where can we overload? What information can we gather? We've got the Jackal. Let's get him in. P9 now. Takes out the Goo Mine, but he can get to work with the Inox scanner. Try and get some more information.
Well, IQ's on scanner, and I think there's a high likelihood that the pulse has been spotted. There you go. So that was what was stalling out the push. Good counterplay. The BG man will survive just narrowly. Prone to a headshot, but it doesn't quite land. Falcons, though, still have the advantage with the pulse forced back. Openings will become apparent. Chalet good for his one. I9 in the grave. 60 seconds and an opportunity for Falcons to finally get a round back.
Yeah, and almost got a second one there as well, playing off the ping from P9 on the Jackal. Massive round here from Falcons. I think just systematically pulling apart Fury. This is what we expect from Falcons. This is the level of play that we anticipated they would bring to this matchup against Fury. It went missing for a little while here on Border, but they brought it back. 40 seconds left, up 5 versus 2. Probably not going to lose it from here. Makes it then 4-5, and hence why we said earlier for Fury to not get too ahead of themselves. Down the Lycolas, and BG man in the crunch. Drone immediately catches Lycolas. That's his position, obviously, they're known. And this one could end up being flawless. No, denied. BG man gets himself his 10th kill of this particular map. Plant will go down. Not in time, though, and Falcons get the final kill courtesy of J-Lad. Okay, 4-5. The Falcons have just kind of woken up a little bit.
I wonder if Fury immediately respond here with a tactical of their own. They've still got theirs banked, so they could try and stall out any counter momentum and just refocus and talk about how they're going to close out this series and perhaps correct what went wrong in that previous round. Doesn't look like that will be the case, so it's cool, calm, and collected in the Fury camp still at the moment. And it keeps this series and this map in particular very, very intriguing. 5-4 the scoreline, round 10 we go. It will be top floor for this particular round. Castle as well is going to be brought out by Fury. It looks like the Azami as well. And we saw how aggressive those picks, those positions were last time around. Here's the replay package for the previous round, though. We saw the IQ and the pulse. They were intertwining over towards that security position. And as Fury looked to play around that, unfortunately, they didn't quite land the shots that they needed initially, and then as it unraveled, those players were in pretty awkward positions, and Falcons capitalized.
Is it too simple to say that it's Crit J or bust? I know obviously BG Man's got 10, but it feels like Crit J's been more impactful. That's the word we used earlier for him. It's not just a matter of kind of stat padding. Obviously, he dies early on. Falcons get rid of probably the most impactful player inside of the server, and it's no surprise they were able to snowball from there. So I think for me, eyes on Crit J, playing the Azami now as well. Certainly an operator that you don't want to be losing early. He'll still be aggressive as expected over towards break, trying to maybe keep that 90 control, dark inside of security, or at least has that rotate option.
So triple wall again exposed. You can see these lines of sight as well, looking to protect east and also make the entry towards break very complicated. Flows in response, though, to the castle. Not quite like that. There's a lot of util in combination with the keeper barriers to deal with.
It's going to sound crazy, but it's kind of not just the castle as well, but kind of goes in combination with the Jackal and the Grim, can add a little bit of that displacement factor too, and also really good against kind of an Azami that wants to sort of set things up. I think boots here on the Flores is so impactful. Open to kill once again for Falcons, 2 rounds in a row here into the 10th. Not quite onto Crit J though. Certainly the player to keep an eye on. Obviously playing a very important position here. Maybe just feeling the pinch a little bit. Couldn't even shoot that drone out. Got a little bit further than he would have liked it to get. He is just making a run for it. Mad dash through 90 in towards the hallway. Castle barricade still up though, blocking lines of sight in towards top east stairs. I like the little reposition here and playing off it. Hive launcher as well, very successful from O-Kills. They're very much overloading this security position, done so successfully, getting themselves inside of the map now. Still a minute and 12 seconds left, but with the player advantage, Falcons are just starting to overload here. Fury on the back foot.
Do they know that Crit J is repositioned towards break, hiding away, tucked away?
They do.
Oh, his position's revealed and he gets caught off guard. P9 to collect that one. So 5 versus 3, 50 seconds on the clock, I9. Can he bring this round back for his team? Stunned. So position now revealed. This is going to be so difficult for Fury.
diffuser has been dropped.
As that diffuser gets joggled across as they position themselves for the final push.
Time though, a little interesting here. 30 seconds, not a lot of it. Lycolis gets tagged up a little bit. BG man just needs to hold the angle. Doesn't have to peek. Don't need to swing this. Don't need to give them anything. Force them to push into you. Certainly still something that Falcons need to do despite the two-player advantage. Keep an eye on I9 as well towards the back, over towards the hallway. Nice little entry though from Chalet through Vandal, and that is probably going to unlock the round for them because they've got far more side control inside of the smoke. Double for BG man. The Warden very successful. Make that a triple kill. Can he go anymore? I9 combines as well. Fury win the round from absolutely nowhere. They should never be winning that. BG man, incredible. On the Warden, inside of the smoke. A key factor, and with that, 2 match points. Fury stunning Falcons in the death off that round. Falcons looked like they had it absolutely banked.
That has got to be so frustrating for Falcons. They grinded their way through that round to deal with all of that utility in break room, the castle barricades, the Kiba barricades, the impactful crit J. They did everything right, and then one smoke
5 versus 2
led to their demise because of every operator in the game to be playing this position in front of sandwich window. It's the Warden. BG 2 clean kills, then the third with the SMG. I9 on a long flank, then finally comes alongside to assist. I don't know who threw the smoke, but they are going to be reeling that that was allowed to happen.
Like, there's no need. It's a 5-on-2, and you know there's a Warden.
Yeah. That's rough for Falcons.
That
really
is a
rough.
mental circuit breaker. Just when it felt like they were starting to click and to bring things back, and just like that, you throw it all the way. 6-4. Fury now with 2 match points. And that was, again, 2 rounds in a row where Crit J was not able to be that super influential player that we've seen from him on Border. In fact, it was BG man in the end. He goes to 13. He's suddenly top fragging. Not too much of a surprise. Statistically, their best player in terms of player rating. And an opportunity for APAC to find its first series win at Six Invitational 2024 at the end of the second day of groups. Now on the cards, Falcons on the ropes.
So Crit J spotted then over towards that box position in security. Shock drones in play on the Twitch as well. I9 has found himself bottom of his stairs, and P9's looking to hunt him down. Can't quite land enough shots, but eventually squeezed by Mad Kills.
Love the response here from Falcons though. Just go fast. Okay, yeah, we kind of threw a little bit towards the back end of that last round, but we were dominant, we were strong. So let's back ourselves in. Go fast, try and catch Fury off guard. Done so successfully, 2-player advantage. The downside is though, mentally, you just lost the 5 versus 2. Now it's still only a 5 versus 3. No Warden in play. No. Could be very different here.
There's no smokes, so it's okay.
No smokes, no Warden. No worries. 90 seconds left.
Well, there's time here for Falcons. And an additional pick to just aid their efforts. Dark up above might be good for one if he catches O-kills off guard. Oh, he does, but the shots don't quite land initially. But the trade wheel cribs a 3K in the round, and that might be enough to fire up Fury for a last-ditched effort at pushing this game to OT.
I think you mean Falcons, but...
Did I say Fury?
You did say Fury.
My apologies. Definitely Falcons.
6-5. And a tactical timeout from Fury. Yeah, Madak just maybe seeing something there that he wasn't quite a fan of. Obviously, as we could clearly see, Falcons just super aggressive, fast-paced. They're able to get inside of the map, take those early contact bites, do so successfully. Kind of got what they wanted, and it's actually been a couple of rounds now where they've been able to really turn the tide. They've won 2 out of the last 3, of which that one loss, of course, was a bit of a choke, up 5-2 in the round. So when you kind of look at the last 3 rounds and the total picture of it, dominance from Falcons has certainly come back. Does this have all of the hallmarks of sending us to overtime? Potentially so. With what we've seen from Falcons, I think they've got more than enough in terms of capabilities to get us to OT for the final map of the day.
Yeah, and that intensity just dials up another notch in this match. Pressure back on Fury. Can they close out this series?
Tuberel has been locked in.
Poor.
And from BG Man as well, of all players.
I'm not going to spoil it yet, but the objective choice is also quite intriguing. Going to look at that very shortly. And
well, I wonder what Mad Dog has been cooking up here, because when you take a tactical timeout and you kind of bring these set plays in terms of site choice, in terms of operator choice, there's clearly something that's gone into it.
yeah, so Customs would go then. And this is a very difficult objective to defend. But the Falcons on this particular occasion could be running into the unknown. This may be a setup that they have never seen of before. You know, the Tuberel in play, we've seen that Fury have really been cooking in terms of the castle setups as well. So this is going to be wild. I'm assuming, of course, defensively, a lot of it is going to be relying on that detention wall, I suppose, being left up, and maybe Passport as well, in combination with the Kaid. So let's see how Falcons respond. I think this is going to be a really, really intriguing final round of regulation.
Electrified, courtesy the Kaid Electro Claw from Lycol. There's, of course, the Tuberel to contend with as well. 3 Zoto canisters. Massive round here. Fury looking to be the first APAC team to find a series win here at SI24. There's the first of a couple of Zoto canisters. In fact, through 2 of them. One a waste, has to be.
Yeah, I don't know where the other one was placed. It was perhaps a little bit earlier. Nonetheless, the wall stalled, but critically, Mad Skills has kept 2 exothermics up. Final Zoto utilized on the wall preemptively. I think in terms of the util game, at least initially, it's probably a win in the column of Falcons, presuming that those exothermics do get used elsewhere and are able to find value. P9 will go into the low roll, top east, so he'll be a threat. And such is the nature of Border, a couple of now isolated duels, 1v1s, as both teams jostle for map control and map supremacy.
Fury trying to keep security under control. P9 makes his way through top waiting. Maybe just show a little bit of presence. Quibs as well outside. Drone gets shot out. That's going to be the 6th one, so not a lot of drones remaining. For the side of Falcons, it's still a 5 versus 5. Fury have done well in terms of just sort of time wasting, not necessarily getting super aggressive. Them also holding back very much on the defensive side of thing until Crit J pops up, counterattack, gets the kill onto P9, deals with the Ash. J-Lad looking for some pressure through Archives, but he does spot the head and eventually takes it onto Dark. Pulls out the pistol, maybe in anticipation of a trade swing that never came through. Gumine stepped on, low on health, swings into Fountain, has a yellow ping to play off of. Crit J once again wanting to get aggressive. Full 90 control, and that castle barricade you saw really blocking off a lot of that sightline from top east.
So 40 seconds then on the clock, a 4 versus 4. Can J-Lad find this pick? The prone off angle from I9 pays dividends. 30 seconds and I9's good for 2.
He certainly is. And Fury might be good for the series win unless Quivs and Mad Skills can just clutch up here in a 2v4 scenario. Not a lot of time. Diffuser in hand, and I9 once again with the reposition and the angle. It's perfect for I9, and it's perfect for Fury. For APAC, a win on the board here at 6 Invitational 2024 has come to fruition on day 2 of groups.
They had to work for it. They had to grind, but a great performance in the end. Just when things started to look dicey for Fury, they were able to close it out.
Well, look at the celebrations. Smiles all round. Dismay, though, for the Falcons. Not totally distraught, though, and certainly not gone in terms of this group. Only their 2nd game and still opportunities to come. It still beckons, but what about that from Fury? Perfect start for them, their debut. It took all the way until the final game of day 2 to make their appearance here at SI, but they come away with a much-needed win for APAC. But a win for them as a team, clearly able to put them in a good position, I think, heading into the rest of this group, where they can feel confident that they can make a bit of a mark here at this tournament.
A confidence booster. Obviously not going to be their toughest of opponents, but I think they tried some new stuff especially on border, that I think threw their opponents off guard. That's going to fulfill them with the confidence that, you know, progressing through the tournament, they can continue to chip away, improve, get better, try to get points, and ultimately try to escape the group.
What about Falcons, though? I mean, obviously they've got their full roster now, but clearly on a day where it was still all about travel, still all about a team that probably by the end of it, I think ran out of gas.
Yeah, I think if they rest up and can pick themselves back up and not be too dismayed at this result, I think there's still there's an opportunity for them to escape the group, but it's going to be so challenging. I think from this point forwards, they are going to have to be pretty faultless, probably get a 2-0 win somewhere along the line as well to boost their points on the standing. So it's going to be tough for Falcons, but I like their response on their faces, the body language after that series. As you sort of alluded to, right? They didn't look completely devastated. They probably understand that it was always going to be a tough series. They at least got one map to soften the blow, and I think going forward, there'll still be a chance.
What about Fury? I mean, a big result. There might be some that might look at this and be like, oh, they only took down Falcons. I don't know if that's warranted. Falcons are a very good team that have clearly shown at big international events they can mix it with the best. This, to me, is a very impressive performance for Fury, because honestly, coming into this game today, I mean, when I awoke, I actually wasn't even sure what version of Falcons was going to be there. If it was going to be the one from yesterday, I wouldn't have put much stock into it, but they beat a very solid team. So I think that's a big result for Fury. 2-1 in this final game of the day. Congratulations to them and for APAC, and for us, back to the desk.